across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I am Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you for 3 hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. You know the drill. Get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I guarantee I will play your message out. It's Thursday, April the 3rd. Here's what's coming up. First, I'll focus on the cities and towns blighted by more and more migrants. The so-called Asylum dispersal scheme spraying our illegal channel crossing friends all over the country, putting unprecedented pressure on local services and creating atmospheres of fear as hundreds of young foreign men with nothing to do hang out menacingly on the streets. In Glasgow, officials have written to the government complaining that the 4,000 asylum seekers imposed on the Scottish city have created an, and I quote, utterly untenable situation. Similar stories are being told the length and breadth of Britain. And with Keir's crew doing the square root of nothing to stop the rot, this growing crisis is just getting worse and worse. Is your town under siege? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. In other news, we'll look at the monumental madness of the UK's biggest power station, Drax, in North Yorkshire, which used to run quietly and efficiently on coal. Mind just 30 miles away, but due to net zero derangement syndrome, is now powered by wood pellets, chopped out of forests in America and Canada and shipped thousands of miles at great cost to the environment and at great cost to us. Every household in Britain is now burdened with an extra £10 on their energy bills to pay for this eco-insanity. Just so Crazy Ed Miliband and his crazed climate change disciples can say Drax runs on renewables. These pellets, when burned, spew infinitely more carbon emissions into the atmosphere than coal ever did. Do you ever think that when it comes to our vacuous, virtue-signalling, gormless government, we should send for the men in white coats? 0344 499 1000, plus the scourge of Turkish barbershops and kebab joints that are money laundering fronts for gangsters and migrant visa frauds. Police who raided 33 barbershops found more than £500,000 in cash. Why did the cops leave it so long before launching this crackdown, though? I mean, you know, we've seen, go into villages, there are 5 barbershops, nothing else. 5 barbershops all over the country. Those American candy shops, they're the same. Why are the police only just now waking up to this? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, Trump's tariff show hitting the, and I quote Donald, the pathetic EU hard, but not exactly sparing Britain from a world of pain either. That idiot Starmer going round boasting about how his approach to America's hard line on global trade has been vindicated. Our approach has been vindicated. Oh, yeah, right. OK, we did better than Europe, but the special relationship definitely did not deliver a special deal. Ask the 25,000 car workers who could soon be unemployed. 0344 499 1000. And finally, more on the Meghan and Harry psychodrama as she flogs hyper-expensive non-jam and he yet again sues the government demanding armed police protection on his visits to Britain. The armed police protection he no longer warrants and will never get. Kinsey Schofield will join me later to ponder charity chief Dr. Sophie Chandorka's explosive accusations that the disastrous Duke is a white saviour-style colonial racist. He says he's not. Either way, after old Gingernut spent the last 4 years accusing the royal family and millions of Brits of racism born of unconscious bias, the tables have been humiliatingly turned on him. How do you think he likes it? And why isn't Meghan defending her hapless husband in his darkest hour of need? 03444991000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And before I forget, don't forget 8 to 9 tonight. It's called Dr. Renee, GP extraordinaire, Dr. Renee Hunderkamp in the studio answering all your medical problems, health issues, problems with the NHS, can't get to see your doctor, just don't feel very well. Doesn't have to be you, could be a friend, could be a loved one. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She is here to help. And for this first hour, though, I'm very pleased to say, for the a debutant is in the studio, a man who's we've been having on my show increasingly over the past few weeks because he's damn good and speaks a lot of sense. So welcome to the studio, Philip Kelsley from the New Culture Forum. Welcome, Philip.
Oh, Kev, it's great to be here.
Right, well, let's get going. As I say, this story, I want to talk about all the cities and the towns, who many of them ask the local residents. They say they're being ruined by this constant rising influx of foreigners, basically illegal migrants, people who arrived here illegally. And then we have this thing called the Asylum dispersal scheme, which is supposed to spray them fairly around the country, but a lot of cities and towns say, well, it's not that fair, we're getting more than our fair share. This has come about because Glasgow in particular, should I say, is begging the government to stop this. They've got more than 4,000 migrants imposed on them, and more are coming, more and more and more. And they've written to the government, the officials of Glasgow, said, listen, we just cannot take this anymore. That we have unprecedented pressure on our local services, on our infrastructure, and this is getting worse and worse and worse. So they're just begging the government to stop this. Now, elsewhere, Philip, you have towns like Hartlepool, Swansea, Coventry, even Hillingdon in West London near the airport, which has the highest proportion of asylum seekers in the whole world. All of these towns, now the people who live there, they talk about most of these migrants, let's face it, they're young men. They're young males between the age of about 18 and 35. Very few women. And they're not allowed to work. They hang around on street corners. And local residents talk about this menacing atmosphere, how they've lost the feel of their local communities, and frankly, you know, they say that this is in danger of sort of culturally destroying this country, and the government's doing nothing except have some more. It's really worrying, isn't it?
It's really worrying, and you'll find with many of these places that they are really struggling places anyway. They're pretty poor. You know, Hartlepool, there's not a lot of money there. Coventry, I know Coventry very well. Lots of my family live in Coventry. There isn't a lot of money there. You'll find that this dispersal is kind of pushing these people to these places where the politicians, where the civil servants don't live. And so where the people in power can quietly forget about them. And again, where I live in West Yorkshire, places like Huddersfield, places like Wakefield, Rotherham, Barnsley, all of those places, it's full of these migrants, asylum seekers, and we get 60,000 failed asylum seekers at the moment, 200,000 awaiting decisions. It's just insane. So the catastrophe has actually already happened. All of these people are here. And it's the same thing with successive governments. It's not just the Labour government. Of course, it's the Conservative government over the last 15 years. It's this ethos that just hasn't worked. This open borders insanity has wrecked our culture. I walked past through some of these old textile towns where I live, which are beautiful places, but they're like ghostly places because all of this amazing Victorian architecture, and there's nothing happening. There are just young men, as you say, hanging around. People don't go into the city centres because they're frightened, because there are drugs there. You smell weed everywhere. It's just really appalling.
Yeah, and people have been quoted in these various communities. As I say, the Glasgow is our asylum migrant capital of Britain, but you have towns like Hartlepool, as you said, Swansea and Coventry. They're complaining acutely that they're taking more than their fair share. Hillingdon, it's very strange this, houses the UK's highest proportion of asylum seekers. And what these, that's 97 out of every 10,000 people.
That's extraordinary.
That is a lot if you think about it.
That's extraordinary.
97 out of 10,000 people are migrants are. And we've got to remember, Philip, I don't want to be too harsh and unkind, or maybe I do. These people have all arrived here illegally. They've just pitched up on our beaches. They've arrived in an illegal vessel, these small boats, and they've demanded our hospitality. And we give it to them. Now, I suppose in a modern country you can't just sort of shoot them or you've got to do something for them. But we are too kind to these people. This is why they keep coming. This is why they keep coming, because of the kindness we bestow on them. 45 quid a week, many of them 4-star hotels, free food, free lawyers to ridiculously fight their case to stay, free doctors, free dentists, as you say, mobile phones, we're paying for their driving lessons. I mean, why do you think we do all this?
I think for so many reasons, but one of them is suicidal empathy. We have this.
I like
this.
that.
Well, I think it's
suicidal
true.
empathy. Good phrase there, folks.
Well,
It's right. You're right.
I think it's true. We have these chattering class people, and I know I keep saying that, but it's absolutely true. The middle classes will kill us. They shouldn't be allowed out on their own, right? It's that bad, and they shouldn't be allowed to think for themselves. We have this suicidal empathy where they're obsessed with immigrants. They're obsessed with everybody else apart from us. They will not accept that if you have 2 million people coming into the country every year in, year out, that the culture, and as in these articles, the word here is cohesion, that all of that will just go by the wayside. Now, what's really interesting about these articles, the people who are complaining, they're not complaining in what might be termed a racist way. It's very, very measured, isn't it? They're just saying, look, there are too many people here. Yeah. We want to do something about it. It's time that we turn the tide. Obviously, the thing to do is just close the borders, stop the borders being porous.
Stop the migrants coming, but they're not doing anything about that. Now, in terms of what you're talking about, the guy in Glasgow, Glasgow just says it literally cannot take this pressure for much longer. Unprecedented pressure is being put on their infrastructure. The guy who's written to the government, in fact, to the Asylum Minister, Angela Eagle, good luck with that. She's not known for her dynamism, but he's a guy called Alan Casey, and he is Glasgow's convener for homelessness. And what is upsetting him is it's his job to try and find the homes. Many of them military veterans. Yeah. He's trying to find them homes, and all the available accommodation is going to these foreigners, these illegal foreigners who've been imposed on the city by the asylum dispersal scheme. It's something. Something is warping this country. It is it's perverse, and it gets worse, doesn't it, in terms of the fact that we allow 1 million in legally every year, and you go up now to some of the cities of the north, the towns of the north, and again, I'm not saying this in a racist way, but these are cities that don't resemble what they used to.
Well, you've got places like Batley, Dewsbury, Rotherham. These places now have negotiated policing. Okay, so community leaders will dictate the kind of policing that goes on in there, and police officers just go in there and are told what to say and do. That can't carry on, because that's a parallel society running alongside our own society. Don't forget there are something like 85 Sharia courts working in this country at the moment that we know about. So again, it comes back to this idea of culture. Again, it comes back to this idea of society. Who are we? What are we? The problem is, we can't get this stuff back. You can't get the toothpaste back into the tube. Once you go so far, there's nothing you can do about it, and we're perilously close to losing great big chunks of the country. Glasgow is the classic example. And London as well. We're in central London at the moment. You walk through central London at any night, you see so many people in the streets, and I'm there, but for the grace of God go I, because they all look like me. They're all middle-aged blokes. They're all white. They're all probably working class. A lot of them,
many of them military.
A lot of them
that's the tragedy.
Yeah,
people who served their country, who are on the streets, and this is what a lot of local communities are complaining about. They're saying, well, we can't get housing. We go, and that the migrants are being prioritised. First they're put into hotels, 4-star hotels. Then they're prioritised for local public housing. So local communities just saying we're being forgotten. And interesting you mentioned Dewsbury and Batley. The MP for Dewsbury and Batley is a guy called Iqbal Mohammed. He's an independent, and he's one of these MPs who feels that he doesn't necessarily represent Dewsbury and Batley. He represents Islam. And he's the guy that, when, quite rightly in my view, recently the government, or one of the, may have been a Tory, there was a move in Parliament to outlaw, to make illegal first cousin marriage. And this guy Iqbal Mohammed stood up and passionately argued against it, saying that millions of Muslims love it and they do it all over the world, and in sub-Saharan Africa it's a really popular thing. So we go, oh well, if it's popular in sub-Saharan Africa, why didn't you say? Even in Parliament you have this kind of weird cabal now of MPs who don't really see themselves as representing areas of Britain. They're representing Gaza. They're representing Kashmir. Look at this guy Tahir Ali, who's technically a Labour MP, who's current for Birmingham, by the way, Birmingham Moseley, which is currently up to their necks in garbage with rats the size of cats running around. What's he campaigning for in Parliament? A new airport in Kashmir.
In Kashmir,
it beggars belief.
Seeing some of these images of rubbish piled kind of 6 foot high, rats all over the place, it reminds me of the economic strife and social strife of the 1970s. The difference being there isn't that cohesion there anymore. No. There isn't a sense of who we are and what we are, and we are British, and it is a British Parliament. It's not a Parliament for Gaza. So we came out of the 70s and we had a period of relative prosperity in the 80s and cohesion in the 80s and 90s. And God, if you think back to the 90s, weren't we happy? Wasn't everything great? Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen now. I hate to say it, but I think things are just going to get worse and worse and worse. And it's not just about money, to finish the point. It's about culture, and it's about our culture being destroyed and this lack of cohesion.
And you're right what you were saying earlier about the powers that be, the establishment now, the judges, the politicians, the civil servants, the generation. This generation of our leaders now, if you like, they're all educated at left-wing universities during the 80s, late 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, and they were brainwashed into this sort of Guardian reading, be kind outlook. And they feel that prioritising the needs of these people who arrive here illegally is the right thing to do. It's kind. Well, it's unkind to a British citizens, and I think matters are coming to a head. Let me know, folks, what you feel we should do about this asylum dispersal scheme. Let me know if you've got asylum seekers, migrants in your community. I heard somebody from Swansea saying that the local coffee near his place, he said on a quiet day you got 30 migrants sitting outside, all smoking, shouting, leering. It said often 100 outside a coffee shop, and I think this is a scene that's going on everywhere.
It's a scene that's going on everywhere. You walk through any city centre, especially the smaller towns, actually, the poorer towns. And of course, the upshot is that people just don't go into the city centres anymore because they're frightened, it's intimidating, it's dirty, and the businesses suffer, the businesses that are still there, that is.
Yeah. So, folks, give me a ring. Let me know if you've got any migrants in your town. Is it causing you any problems? And also, what should we do about this? I mean, what should we do about this dispersal system? And what would you like the government to do to maybe, you know, stop the migrants coming? And let's not get into that smash the gangs nonsense, because that will not work. That is performative politics, headline hunting nonsense. Smashing the gangs, you smash any number of gangs today, there'll be new ones tomorrow. Somehow we have to stop the migrants. That will smash the gangs, because then they won't have any customers. What should we do? What should we do? 0344 499 1000. More government madness next when we talk about Britain's biggest power station, Drax. Basically, it's costing every single household in this country an extra 10 quid on our energy bills because they switched from coal to renewables. It's insane. We'll talk about that next. Stay where you are.
I think he would always be afforded a degree of security. He's just got to let people know what he's doing, because I'm absolutely sure he is not going to be left with no security should he come here. But as long as he briefs people where he's coming, what he's doing, then I think it's probably likely to happen. What the defence from the Home Office is as he's no longer a working member of royalty, he comes into a different category. Yeah. And that's where the grey area is about. But I'm pretty sure that he is never going to be left without security.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about Britain's biggest power station. I'm still with Philip Kilsley, of course, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. You're from the north, aren't you, Philip? So this is one for you, but it's one for all of us, folks. This is Britain's biggest power station. It's in North Yorkshire. Until 2016, it was happily fuelled by a coal mine 30 miles away. Very efficient, very cheap. Just quietly got on with powering more people than any other power station in the country. Anyway, along came the net zero derangement syndrome that grips all of our politicians, particularly Crazy Ed Miliband, the net zero nutter. And of course, we've got coal. Oh, gotta have coal. So it is now powered by wood pellets. These wood pellets are felled from poor old forests in North America and Canada, and then shipped at great ecological expense all the way thousands of miles to Britain, whereupon they pour all these pellets into the power station. It then spews more carbon emissions than coal ever would into the air. So it is actually ecologically, in terms of pollution, much worse than it used to be on a number of levels. But because it is now eco-friendly, it receives, last year it got £869 million of government green subsidies, enabling it to make a £1.1 billion profit. This is last year. But because of those subsidies, we have to pay for it. So all of your energy bills, folks, are 10 quid more than they should be, because we're all paying for Drax that used to be cheap because they got the coal from 30 miles away, but it's now incredibly expensive because they get the environmentally unfriendly wood pellets all the way over from America, ship them in environmentally unfriendly ships all the way to Yorkshire, pour them into the power station, burn the pellets, and that spews unprecedented amounts of pollution into the air. All, Philip, so that Ed Miliband and his deranged disciples can say, it's renewables, it's renewables. I mean, the insanity is off the scale.
In many ways, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's the story of our times, isn't it? It really shows you that this green obsession, in lots of ways, is actually a mental health issue. Because
well, Ed Miliband genuinely is.
But because they cannot see the truth, they cannot see reality. This obsession with this, it's almost like religious cult, this religious idea of we must worship the environment trumps everything. And bearing in mind that the stuff that we pump out, the CO2 emissions, is nothing. It is literally next to nothing. And China are building God knows how many coal-powered power stations every single day.
I can tell you, they've got nearly 1,200 coal-fueled power stations. Yeah. I think it's 1,161, and they're currently building 300 more. And also, they're exploring for more coal.
They're exploring for more coal, and why shouldn't they? And we're bullying families who want to go on economy flights to Spain or Portugal or Greece because they've worked hard and they're not allowed to, and their kids are being shamed on social media because of that. It is a social contagion. It's a mental health issue. And again, I come back to these middle-class people with these silly ideas who really should not be let out. I look at this story and I think, Drax, it's like a Bond story, isn't it? Yeah. It's like Moonraker, and this is Britain 2025. It's Britain's stupidity, and we should just dump the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unfair to the forests. These tankers that ship the pellets across the Atlantic, they spew untold pollution into the air, and as I say, once they get into Drax, these wood pellets are much, much more environmentally damaging than the fumes that come off burnt coal. Yeah. So on every level, this is far less ecologically friendly than it used to be, and all of you folks, we are paying £869 million worth of subsidies to this power station because it's now green. In effect, Philip, this is just so the government, Ed Miliband, and by the way, to be fair, 2016, of course, dates back to the Tories are just as bad on this claptrap, this green claptrap. It's just so the politicians can say this is a green power station that runs on renewables, because of course wood essentially is a renewable. Just for the language, that's what this madness is built on.
It's the new obsession, it's the new insanity, and in many ways we just talked about the other story, which is about mass immigration and open borders. It's only now that people in power are beginning to think, oh my God, what can we do about it? Way after the plane has crashed into the mountain, way after the catastrophe. You know that in 10 years' time, people are going to be saying, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be going over to America to get wooden burn pellets when we've got coal here, because that's the sensible thing to do. We just do the stupid thing over and over again, because it's the same people in power with the same ideas, foisting them on the rest of us who just don't want them.
Yeah, I mean, did human beings used to be this stupid?
No.
Did you see the next COP 8 million or whatever, what is that, COP 30, 31, whatever it is, it's going to be in Brazil. So in order to get all of the private jet crew, because they'll all fly in on their private jets and then climb into gas-guzzling limousines, in order to get them from the airport to the venue for COP, whatever it is it 31? See, if I had an efficient production team, they'd be looking this up right now.
Who cares
as opposed to all sitting in there chatting among themselves. They will let me know in a minute. But COP 30, there you go. Thanks. Got there in the end. Seriously, COP 30. So what are they doing? So the airport is it's difficult to get to the venue, so they are building a massive motorway through the Amazon rainforest, chopping down the Amazon rainforest to build a motorway so that the private jet crew can get into their limos and drive to the venue. It's just off the scale deranged.
It's we the important people are allowed to do what we want because we're looking after the little people, and we will not only do what we want, but we will be grotesque in our largesse, because they really are. You know, they should be doing all of that stuff on Zoom. They should be leading by example, but of course they're not, because really this is about snobbery, isn't it? They are the elite, and they can do these things, and we're not allowed to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a middle class thing. I mean, a few weeks back with my football mates, Fulham. I'm a Fulham fan, as the audience are so tired of hearing. I actually asked them over a couple of beers after the match, does any of you care about net zero, green? That rubbish, that crap.
Nobody cares.
I think most people don't really care. And I think history will look back at this phase and say, what on earth were governments doing? What was the world doing? Changing its entire economic structure on the basis of some kind of scientific theory that mankind is ruining the planet. We may or may not be contributing to climate change. Climate change has always happened. The worry is that anything we do won't make any difference. Certainly won't make any difference in Britain, considering we are responsible for less than 1% of the world's carbon emissions. So if we actually all started living in mud huts and went round on horse and carts, got rid of all our cars, electricity, everything, wouldn't make any difference at all. Meanwhile, China spews out 28% of the world's pollution. We are self-harming, and we don't need to. Thank you, Ed.
Well, it's easier, as I say, to tell a family or tell individuals that they're not allowed to go on holiday, they're not allowed to, they're not allowed to enjoy themselves, they're not allowed to do anything. It's easier to do that than take on the Chinese Communist Party. So, of course, they don't take on the Chinese Communist Party.
Absolutely. Do as we say, not as we do.
Exactly.
The elites are allowed to pollute the planet, but we're not. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you think about the utter madness of the Drax power station. 03444991000. Talking about waking up to crises late. When we come back, we're going to talk about the police. And finally notice what the rest of us has noticed, that, why is it that sort of remote villages that don't even have a shop have got, or a pub, have suddenly got 5 barber shops? So barber shops all over the country, those American candy shops as well, springing up everywhere. We're all going, well, that can't be right, can it? Well, the police finally seem to have worked out something might not be A-OK here. So we will talk about a recent raid and how much that netted when we come back after these messages. Stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I'm still with the senior fellow from the New Culture Forum, Philip Keelsley. In a little while, Philip, we're going to have to play the Trump tariff game, so we'll talk about that after the next break. But first, this is an interesting development. All of us, all over the country, you know what I'm talking about. You go into sort of remote villages and there's 5 Turkish barber shops. They're all over the place, almost as many as those American candy shops. Well, the police finally noticed what we've all been noticing. I was hearing a story earlier that somebody actually went in to get a haircut at one of these Turkish barber shops, and all these guys sitting around didn't know what they were. So one of them picked up a pair of scissors and ended up with the worst haircut of his life. So what you can't get in the Turkish barber shops is a haircut. But what you can apparently do is launder loads of gangland money. Anyway, just recently the police launched Operation Machinize. We've been trying to work out how you pronounce that, so we're going for Machinize, Machinize, Machinize. 33 pretty dramatic raids, smashing down the doors of 33 of these Turkish barber shops around the country, and they seized more than £500,000 in cash. Meanwhile, Philip, in a similar syndrome in a way, kebab shops all over Britain are also in the frame. They're working a scam. What these kebab shops are doing is getting skilled worker visas for migrants with no skill, who have no skills whatsoever. And for example, one halal business in Preston has handed out 100 visas in 2 years. So you've got these businesses, these ostensible businesses are now acting, they're not really what they purport to be. They're not barbershops, they're not kebab shops. They are fronts for criminal activities, and these Turkish barbershops in particular are, dealing with enormous amounts of cash, laundering criminal money.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you say, it's just unbelievable that the police are only now thinking, oh, there might be something here. So you're in a little village somewhere, as you say, and you've got 3 kebab shops, 5 Turkish barbers, and literally nothing else. But I keep thinking, when I'm reading this story, they are allowing this criminal activity to continue because they obviously know what they are, but they just want to turn a blind eye. And I can't help thinking, Kev, about the story we talked about a while ago, which was the rape gangs, which were and all of that criminal activity was happening in places like kebab shops in particular. Some horrible stories there. The police didn't want to do anything about it because of cultural tensions, and they didn't want to come across as being racist. God knows what's going on here. You've got 500 grand. What's going on there? Drugs are going to be involved, certainly. Prostitution's going to be involved. Organised crime. It's incredible that this stuff is happening on our streets, that we know about it, that they know that we know about it, but still they won't do anything about it.
So they seem to be waking up late in life that there's something that they ought to be doing, and so they made a big thing of saying, oh, look, we've launched Operation Machinize. By the way, Rozzers, next time you launch one of these operations, come up with a better name. Operation Machinize. Or is it Machinize? We don't know. But anyway, those are the barber shops. But these kebab shops, this is another story that hit the papers today. All over Britain are working this scam. How is it, would you imagine, that one halal business in Preston was able to hand out 100 visas for skilled workers in 2 years? Now, this, to my mind, is another example of our migrant system being completely dysfunctional and, frankly, haphazard and not fit for purpose. Why, surely you'd have thought someone in officialdom would have said, hang on, this is a kebab shop. Why have we handed out 100 skilled work visas to foreigners in just 2 years?
Well, for me, it's evidence that the system is not only broken, it's completely and utterly smashed, and there is no control over any of this stuff, and this goes back years and years and years, and this idea of just flooding this country with God knows who. I mean, the only thing we know about them is that they've got no skills, so they probably can't speak English, so they are going to be a drain on the economy, and probably, because they are not going to be able to earn, they are going to be criminals. They're involved in criminal activities anyway, even by just coming here. So we've got all of that on the one hand. On the other hand, we've got the Rozzers, as you say, the police knocking on people's doors because they're sending fruity WhatsApps about schools and complaining about teachers. So the police have changed.
They weren't fruity.
They weren't fruity. No, they were just complaining about
expressing reservations about the quality of their kid's head teacher.
So what we've had over the last few years is a subtle change. The police don't police crime anymore because they can't. It's completely out of control. They just police thought, and it's the thought of a certain kind of person. It's people like us, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, the safest thing to be was sort of white and middle class. I'm not necessarily approving of that, but now it's the least safe thing to be when it comes to the cops. They're after the people like you and me. But if you're a Turkish barber or a pretend Turkish barber, you're fine. So I think they've kind of been forced into this out of embarrassment, because too many villages, too many towns are saying every other shop is a Turkish barber shop. So they've actually finally gone into action. And we need to do something about this kebab shop situation as well, in terms of migrants. As you quite rightly say, Philip, you know, the cops seem to be far too interested in knocking on the door of, shall we say, Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, friend and colleague of mine, and questioning her about questionable tweets from a year ago, and these two parents in Hertfordshire. A guy who works just down the road, just down in this building, a guy called Maxie Allen. He's a producer for Times Radio. Him and his partner,
that's right,
Rosalind, raided 6 coppers, 3 armoured vehicles outside, held for 12 hours. 5 weeks later told you didn't do anything wrong. Well, we know that already. Malicious communication and harassment was their alleged crimes. And then you get the Chief Constable of Hertfordshire, a guy called Andy Prophet, as I keep calling Andy Prophet of Doom. He justified. He said, no, we were well within the law. We did the right thing. Andy, you so didn't. You so didn't. When you have coppers with that mindset, that's the problem. That's the problem. We have a race of, or a generation of coppers, top coppers, who seem to think it's their job to harass law-abiding middle-class citizens.
We've got a generation of top coppers who feel that because they've been indoctrinated on training courses, and they've got degrees, and they're not really interested in policing. They're interested in community liaison. That's one thing. I think the other thing as well is what we need are coppers on the street, PCs, to actually look at what's going on those high streets, and as well stop and say, look, I'm not going to target and intimidate people who are just like them, who are white and working class often, by policing thought, policing language. I'm actually going to do my job. You know, it's like the language of the Sweeney, isn't it? I'm going to nick criminals because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and they, community relationships, dance the Macarena. You ask anyone in the whole
gay pride.
Yeah, gay pride, all that kind of stuff. You ask anyone in the country, all top coppers are obsessed with community relations. Now, if you, again, I'm talking to Andy Prophet and his ilk, if you want good community relations, catch the bad guys, make the streets safe, and if I phone up and say my house has just been broken into, come on round and have a look. And don't just laugh at me when I say my car's been stolen or my bicycle's been stolen. Try to solve the crime. That would bring about good community relations. We don't care about you dancing the Macarena or painting your patrol cars gay pride rainbows. We just don't care. We want you to do what the police are supposed to do. But why do they pick on the likes of Maxie Allen, middle-class people, middle-class white people? Because there's no danger of being accused of being racists. That's the big thing for coppers these days. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The police no longer police this country, and we need a root and branch reform. We really do. Listen, when we come back, it's Donald Trump time. I was on air last night, Philip, live as it happened. Quite an experience. The speech started at about soon after 9 o'clock. I knew it. I knew he'd talk for about 25 minutes before he got to the punch. But when he did, out came all the tariffs. We'll talk about that after this break. Stay exactly where you are.
I think he would always be afforded a degree of security. He's just got to let people know what he's doing, because I'm absolutely sure he is not going to be left with no security should he come here. But as long as he briefs people where he's coming, what he's doing, then I think it's probably likely to happen. What the defence from the Home Office is as he's no longer a working member of Royal, he comes into a different category. And that's where the grey area is about. But I'm pretty sure that he is never going to be left without security.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, if you were listening to or watching the show last night, you will recall that I had Greg Swenson from the Republican Overseas Organisation here in the studio, and we had to sort of cover Donald Trump's tariff speech live, and as we predicted, he treated us to a sort of about a 20-25 minute preamble, and then out came his big card with all the actual tariffs, and he's hit a lot of countries pretty damned hard. I think it's 34%, is it, on China, 26% on Japan. A lot of productive companies have got hit quite hard. But from our point of view, 20% tariffs on all goods to the EU. He hates the EU. So pathetic, he said, so pathetic. And we got 10%. And in actual fact, we used to... it was 1.3% was our tariff with America. So what he's done, he just said, look, from now on, you pay the same as we pay. So he's evened it up. And, you know, I know that everybody's all annoyed about it and, oh, my God, this is going to cause economic chaos. But what's Trump? What is America supposed to do? The reason that it has these really unequal tariff deals with countries all over the world was because after the Second World War, the whole world was on the floor. And generous America said, we're going to help the entire world recover economically by giving them very generous tariff deals. We'll pay most of the burden. And until yesterday, that was still in place. I mean, how much longer are they supposed to save the world after World War II? So, you know, I get it. I feel very sorry possibly for the 25,000 British car workers who may lose their jobs. You know, that's horrible, a catastrophe. But you can't expect America to carry on being the defender of the world with, you know, paying everybody's, everybody's defence budget and also these tariffs. You can't expect it to carry on like this. So he's reduced the balance, and Keir Starmer, of course, is going around saying, "Oh, my approach has been vindicated." Well, you know, okay, it's good that Brexit has come into play. It's good because the EU's got a 20% deal and we've got 10%. So their deal is twice as bad as ours, but he didn't treat us any differently. We didn't get a special deal because of the special relationship, and also the other thing that you have to remember is that everywhere, every country, including us, got a 25% tariff on car sales, which is going to hit our car industry very, very hard. So, yes, we've done better than the EU, but we mustn't let Starmer get away with my approach has been vindicated. No. He's just said he's treated us like any other country.
It's nothing to do with Starmer. And we've got to remember that the end of the Second World War was 80 years ago. So if you support Donald Trump, and I'm a big admirer of Donald Trump in terms of doing what he's doing for America, which is putting America first. I know many viewers feel exactly the same. Then you have to support the fact that he is dealing with these tariffs in a sensible way. He is just doing what he said he was going to do, which is put America first. Now, I understand that this is going to be very, very difficult and financially very difficult for some people. But unfortunately, that is the way of the world. That's how politics works. Thank God we're not still in the EU. Thank God we're not part of that bloc, because we would be paying twice as much. But what's really interesting is just looking over some of the media and some of the tweets. People like Emily Maitlis and the ghastly news agents and all of those people are saying, oh, well, what kind of special relationship is that? What kind of friendship is that? Trump's right. It's reciprocal. That's reciprocal. All. It's just it's 10% one way and 10% the other way.
So just to put it in the picture, that basically when we sent cars, everything over to America, America very generously, the tariff they put on our goods and our cars was 1.3%. When their stuff came to us, the tariffs we put on American goods was 10%. You can see the iniquity there, can't you? And this was the same in countries all over the world. And he's just saying, well, I'm not doing that anymore. And you can't really argue against it, particularly, as we've said, that this actually dates back to the Second World War, where the very generous United States of America said we will help the entire world. And all this stuff is still in place. So we didn't get a special deal. It's reciprocal, as Philip said, and the 25% tariffs on cars is going to hit our industry hard. So, yeah, it's good that Brexit has, kind of paid dividends, but all we're really saying is he's punched the EU really hard. He's given the EU 2 black eyes, but he's only given us 1 black eye.
Yeah, it is that. It's kind of, it is just one of those things. The interesting thing about this story for me is the free speech angle to it as well.
Yeah, I like that. The America has basically said to us in particular, look, and this is another thing that Starmer tries to exonerate himself from. The American J.D. Vance, especially, or is it J.D. Vance? I never can tell. J.D. Vance saying, Britain is a hellhole when it comes to freedom of speech. Hey, Starmer, he didn't say this, I'm saying this. Starmer locks people up for hurty words they write on Facebook. He sends them to jail for 3 years. So don't you say you know anything about freedom of speech, Starmer. You're the enemy of freedom of speech. America's had enough of that. He's saying, America's saying, unless you climb onto our cultural wagon, unless you respect our cultural values, which are decent values, freedom of speech, democracy, etc., we don't really want to play with you.
Yeah, and ultimately it's about fairness. But if you would have thought 10, 15, 20 years ago, we would be talking about Britain as though we're some kind of international pariah when it comes to something so important as freedom of expression and general fairness, that we're complaining about. All he's saying is, look, let's even it up and let's be fair. But the freedom of speech thing is really interesting, and how that's related to trade is something that may in the future be really, really important.
Yeah, they don't have hate speech in America. You know, hate speech. When old Tony Blair brought those hate speech laws in, hate crime laws in 1998, they were the first laws in this country that made a criminal offence of something you may say for 300 years. After 300 years, there was you could not say anything that was a crime. You could say racist, whatever. And in America, that's still kind of the case. You can say what you like, because that's freedom of speech. Over here, we haven't had freedom of speech since 1998, because there's all sorts of things you can say that will get you locked up. And we have a socialist government now that 100% does not like freedom of speech, locking people up for hurty words on Facebook. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, where you think about this stuff, and we had the development of this idea that if I'm offended, if I take offence at what you say, it doesn't matter if you intend racism or anything, anything nasty, then I can go for you, right? I can absolutely get you, and it's about feelings.
Exactly
it's
right.
about nothing else. It's not about incitement.
Freedom of speech is an endangered species in this country, folks, and we've got to be very careful. This feeds into all these coppers knocking on your door saying, a tweet from 10 years ago. It's all wrong. Philip Kilsley, fantastic hour. I will be back in just a minute with Dr. Renee Hunderkamp. Call Dr. Renee, you don't want to miss it.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It is time for Call Dr. Renee. Dr. Renee Hundekamp, GP extraordinaire in the studio, answering all your medical questions. If you've got health issues, you've got problems with the NHS, you can't get to see your GP, no one can. You're unhappy with your treatment, it doesn't have to be you, just not feeling very well. It doesn't have to be you, could be a loved one, could be a friend. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank
by
you
the
very
way,
much.
the doctors in the surgery. Surgery will open probably in about 15 minutes or so, maybe a little quicker than that, because before we get to your calls, get them coming in, we like to discuss a couple of stories that are kind of in the health zone. But Dr. Renee is a tireless campaigner against, shall we say, trans unfairness, particularly in sports. Now, big stories cropped up today that a fencer, as in fencing with a sword, female fencer, has been disqualified from a women's competition in the United States after refusing to compete against a transgender opponent. Stephanie Turner took the knee in protest after standing on the piece before her bout against somebody called Redmond Sullivan at the University of Maryland. Now, Redmond Sullivan is quite clearly a bloke. And Stephanie said, I'm not fencing against a guy.
Yeah. Good for Stephanie.
Because she said that's unfair. And when she says it's unfair, she's right. It's ridiculous. It's like in the Olympic Games. Remember the domestic violence category where blokes climbed into the boxing ring and bashed the hell out of females, usually with about one punch. And these blokes went on to win the female gold medal. Well, here we have it again. So it's a very physical sport. Anyway, when Stephanie Turner basically said, I don't want to compete against a bloke, she was disqualified. The International Fencing Federation rules state that a fencer is not permitted to refuse to fence another properly entered fencer for any reason. The organisation said the policy is based on the principle that everyone should have the ability to participate in sports and was based upon the research available on the day. Well, just do one. No. Well, here's to Stephanie Turner, another hero who has really taken a bad hit. She's been disqualified.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel in the States that these stands now that women are feeling able to make are actually going to end this for good. And end it should. When they say that the player was qualified in the day, he wasn't, because he was a he. And it would be, as Seb Coe says, a quick sweet cheek swab and the answer is there. Mm-hmm. Nothing else matters. Chromosomes, that's it. I'm sorry, and I'm sick and tired of this, and I'm sick and tired of this word fairness, because the fairness only works for the men that want to win in women's competitions. It never works for the women that have to play against them.
It's just ridiculous. So the US fencing, the International Federation of Fencing, the USA Fencing Organisation said USA Fencing will always err on the side of inclusion.
By excluding
we're
women.
laughing, but it's not. Yeah. If you didn't laugh, you'd cry. It's a disgrace, this.
Inclusion means exclusion. Yeah. It means if you don't buy into the delusion, you're excluded, you're not included.
Yeah. So this is the rest of the statement. The USA Fencing will always err on the side of inclusion, and we're committed to amending the policy as more relevant evidence-based research emerges, or as policy changes take effect in the wider Olympic and Paralympic movement. So what they're saying is they require more evidence that a bloke fencing, sword fencing against a woman is not fair. You don't need evidence of that, you know. Shall we say, would you need evidence to decide whether or not the men's England football team, it was fair for them to play the women's England football team? Would you need any evidence for that?
Well, it's quite interesting that you raised that.
You wouldn't, would you?
Well, you wouldn't, but it is quite interesting you raise that, because the FA don't allow that to happen at a senior level, do they? So you would never get our elite football males playing against our females. However, go down the ranks a little bit into county football and all of our smaller leagues, and every single week you have got men playing against women and girls, Kevin, damaging knee ligaments because they kick them so hard, and any time a woman speaks up, they get a 6-match ban, or they get banned from the ground, whatever it is. And I said to you before we started the show, I'm not excited about seeing England's women footballers in the World Cup in England in 10 years' time. I think we should boycott the whole thing until the FA apply the rules all the way down to schools that boys and men cannot play girls and women.
So, absolutely. It's basic, isn't it? The International Olympic Committee still won't commit to this. I just don't understand it. I really don't.
Well, nor will the FA.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. It's just some sort of virtue signalling nonsense. It's looking kind of old-fashioned now, because everybody knows it's ridiculous.
Where are the lionesses, Kevin? Where are the lionesses standing up for the young girls who aspire to be them in the future?
Yeah.
That's what it requires.
Where are the lionesses when, not so long ago, about a year ago, a youngish girl, she was a teenager, I think she was about 15 or 16, she was autistic, played in a women's football team, and lined up against another women's football team, and one of the opponents, the women, had a beard, but identified as a woman, and therefore, of course, absolutely, you play with the women. What kind of a guy wants to do that anyway? But anyway, this girl being autistic, you know, they tend to sort of tell it like it is, and she just went, "Are you a man?" and got banned for 6 weeks.
Yeah. Where were the lionesses? Lionesses, you should be ashamed of yourself.
You're right about that. You're right about that. Anyway, Stephanie Turner, our heroine, our hero, she said when she was facing having to fence against a bloke, she said, "I saw that I was going to be in a pool with Redmond." This is Redmond Sullivan, the guy who...
that well-named girl's name.
Yeah, Redmond Sullivan, the guy who sort of pretends he's a woman and wants to beat women at sport. Redmond, get a life.
Cheat.
Get a life. Yeah, stop cheating, get a life. Anyway, Stephanie Turner said, "I saw that I was going to be in a pool with Redmond, and from there I just said, OK, let's do it." And she took the knee, so I'm going to take the knee. So in other words, you see all these footballers, you still see them in the Premier League now, taking the knee against racism. She's taking a knee against, what do you call this, sexism?
Yes.
Transmania, misogyny. Yeah. So she said, "OK, let's do it. I'm going to take the knee." I knew what I had to do because USA Fencing had not been listening to women's objections regarding its gender eligibility policy. When I took the knee, I looked at the ref and I said, "I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I am a woman and this is a man, and this is a women's tournament, and I will not fence this individual." Here's to her. She was immediately, of course, disqualified.
Again, we talked about this last week. What this actually shows is the infiltration at every single level of sport, institutions, police, NHS, health boards, schools, by these trans activists that are making this happen. They are at the very top of all of these organisations, and they need to be ousted.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about some trans madness, shall we? This is
Don't tell me there's more.
Yeah, there's an avalanche of it, and J.K. Rowling's got involved in this. So this beggared belief. This story we did earlier in the week, actually, but I wanted to get your take on it. A kid, aged 3, has been suspended from a state nursery school for abuse, I'm quoting, for abuse against sexual orientation and gender identity, has been expelled from his or her nursery class for being transphobic. 3 years old. 3 years old. J.K. Rowling, again, like yourself, a tireless campaigner against this kind of insanity, this misogynist, sexist insanity. She said that suspending a toddler from a nursery class for transphobia or homophobia is, quote from J.K. Rowling, couldn't agree with her more, totalitarian insanity.
Yeah. But again, if they can get to our children, they ensure that the message goes all the way through the system until they come out the other end like good little ants and start being inclusive. And this is a joke. So we don't know what this toddler said, but I can tell you this, that when Alice was 3 years old, I told her very clearly that she's a girl because she will have babies one day, or the ability to have babies. And boys are fantastic because they could help her do that. But girls are fantastic and different, and one can never be the other. So I told her clearly that if anyone ever says to you that you're a girl, you might be a boy, smile at them nicely, say, you're wrong, I'll go and talk to my mummy. So Alice could well have been suspended from school or expelled from school. But you know what, as parents, that's our job. Our job is to gender our children and to tell them what they are.
Yeah. Imagine sort of parents saying, you got a 3-year-old kid and saying, how's little Johnny getting on? Oh, I'm very worried, he's homophobic.
I mean, it's a joke.
3 years old and he's homophobic already. I'm very worried about him. As Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling said, this is totalitarian insanity. If you think small children should be punished for being able to recognise sex, you are a dangerous zealot who should be nowhere near kids or in any position of authority over them. She's exactly right.
Quite.
So 94 kids last year, 94 kids at state primary schools. So these are kids like kind of 5, 6, 7 years old, were suspended or excluded or kicked out of school altogether for transphobia or homophobia.
Do you know, I think the parents of those 94 children should be thankful that the ideology infiltrating their school like poison has been exposed, and kicking their kid out was the best thing they could do for that child.
Yeah. So what do you say to a little kid, a 3-year-old kid? We're suspending you for transphobia. A 3-year-old kid. What's the kid going to do? She's going to what's transphobia? If she or he could even pronounce it. I mean, grown, sentient adults doing this. What the hell is going on, folks? Let me know, because I can't work it out. 0344 499 1000. I mean it. Listen, don't forget, after the next break, it's called Dr. Renee. We are here to help. She's here to help with any of your medical problems. Health issues, problems with the NHS, can't get to see your doctor, just don't feel very well, you're unhappy with his treatment, think you need treatment, can't work out what the hell's wrong with you. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. That's 0344 499 1000. She is here to help. Before we go to break, Renee, another story a couple of days ago, I thought about you. Public satisfaction. Oh, thanks very much, Wes Streeting, by the way. You're doing the health sector, doing a great job. And that is why Wes is doing such a good job. Labour are doing such a good job fixing our broken health service. The public satisfaction with the NHS has hit a record low.
21%.
Yeah, 21%. So basically 80%, 8 in 10 people think the NHS is rubbish. You can count me among them.
Frankly, working in it every day, having to tell patients that they have to wait a year for their physio appointment, for example, which I do on a regular basis, or 2 years to have, a minor gynecological procedure, I'm surprised that it's even as high as 21%. The NHS is broken, and not one part of it works as it should right now. And until we dismantle it, I did a test the other day, Kevin. I had a patient call me who said, I want to be referred to see a psychiatrist. And after I'd finished laughing in my head...
Are you mad?
Yeah. I said this, I can tell you, I'll do it for you, but it's not going to happen. She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know how you ever get to see a psychiatrist anymore. I refer people, it gets rejected. You get to see a nurse practitioner who tells you to go online and do the course. She said, no, I've got this going on, that. I said, no, I'm going to do it for you. And guess what I got today?
What?
A rejection of my referral that they think should be better to do the online course. This is why it's broken. It's not working. It can't cope. I don't know where all the psychiatrists are, to be frank. Because I can't ever get a patient to see them.
Do you know what? You know the great irony of this is that, of course, Labour, you know, it's their kind of sacred cow. Oh, it must be free at the point of what do they call it? Free
point of contact. Point of use.
Point of use. Everything must be free. It mustn't privatise anything. Oh, you know, that would be a horrendous abrogation of our moral duty to keep this in la 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 la. And so private medicine. Oh no! It must public medicine. More and more people who literally can't afford it are like remortgaging their homes, selling their cars, because the only way they can get treatment is to go private and pay for it themselves. So the irony is while these socialists, while West Streeting and the gang, and the Tories were just as bad, let's be fair, you know, run this kind of creaking basket case of a useless health service, clinging to this principle, this moral, it's free, it's so important, it's free.
It doesn't do
everybody's having to go private because they can't get to see anyone in this useless, broken system.
No. I mean, I tell people regularly now for physiotherapy, look, you're going to wait a year, you need it now. Why don't you just pay £55? And for a lot of people, that's not achievable, but I live in a reasonably affluent area. Why don't you just pay £55? I do, for one appointment with a physio privately so they can give you the exercises to do at home now when you need it. How shocking is that? I'm an NHS doctor telling people that.
Exactly. I mean, I've known doctor friends who just they're saying they're saying to their patients, when patients, you know, I've got this, I've got to see a doctor, I've got to go to a hospital. They basically, the first question is, how much money have you got? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And you know, West Streeting can't carry on, the health secretary, the newish health secretary, he can't carry on saying, you know, oh, I inherited a mess from the Tories like all these Labour people do. You know, OK, fair enough, he did inherit a mess.
He did.
But he's done nothing to make it any better. And here we are 9 months on. And I can't see that he has achieved the square root of anything.
No, everybody says, oh, well, he's got rid of NHS England. Not yet, he hasn't. Let's see that one come out in the wash.
Yeah.
Let's see how much money he saves. It's all smoke and mirrors right now. They're moving people around on waiting lists, trying to make this one look better than that one.
Yeah.
It's rubbish.
Yeah, as I always say, I mean, West Streeting is all these health secretaries come in and say, I'm going to fix the broken NHS, the broken health service. And then about a month later or 3 months later, it's them that are broken. And you can see it in their faces. I heard somebody yesterday, some doctor, whose name was Tony O'Sullivan, not a credit to the family. You know, just that, it was just like listening to a kind of sacred text. The NHS is at the centre of a kind of socialist Guardian reading outlook, and these people, the NHS is a religion for them, and the only thing they ever say about, oh, what can we do to fix it? Oh, it needs more money. Yeah. I think you find 200 billion quid a year is enough to run anything. Get rid of the 3,500 middle managers all earning more than £100,000 a year. Get rid of the 800 diversity officers costing us £40 million a year, just as a start.
Train our own doctors.
Start hiring doctors and nurses with that money. Train more doctors. It's a money pit. It's a money pit. And it's a damned inefficient money pit as well. And I've never known it worse. It is not serving the people anymore. You know, people are dying of cancer because they don't get to see people. Yeah. It's a disaster, folks. But you can let me know what we're here to talk about that if you want to, by all means. If you've got any bad experiences with the NHS, I'd be good to talk to Renee about. 03444991000. But more to the point, I'm going to go to break now. When we come back, Renee's here to help with your health issues, your medical problems, your treatment. You can't get to see the NHS or the your local GP, as we've just discussed. No one can. That's why this is such a popular section, because people phone up, don't they, in desperation, going, I've been trying for 6 months. And
it is bizarre.
It's really bad. So we're going to go back to the surgery. 0344 499 1000. Call Dr. Renee. She's here to help, and we'll be helping you after this break. Stay tuned.
I think he would always be afforded a degree of security. He's just got to let people know what he's doing, because I'm absolutely sure he is not going to be left with no security should he come here. But as long as he briefs people where he's coming, what he's doing, then I think it's probably likely to happen. What the defence from the Home Office is as he's no longer a working member of Royal, he comes into a different category. And that's where the grey area is about. But I'm pretty sure that he is never going to be left without security.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. The surgery is open. Don't forget, any of your medical problems, please give us a call. If you're just not feeling very well, you can't get to see the NHS or your GP, unhappy with your treatment, think you need treatment, doesn't have to be you, could be a friend, could be a loved one. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She is here to help. And the first person that I hope she'll be able to help is from Essex. It's Ray, who's also a new caller. Welcome to the show, Ray. Please talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Ray.
Hello, Dr. Renee. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Ray.
Yeah, what it is, I've been diagnosed with severe aortic stenosis, and I'm awaiting a TAVI.
Yeah.
Is that heart?
TAVI.
Procedure?
TAVI.
Yeah.
So it's a transaortic something. So this is the aortic valve, which is the main valve in the heart. It's really important.
I recognise
and
that.
stenosis means it's just got really narrow and it isn't moving. So you must be breathless and you get pain?
No pain whatsoever, but my balance has been all over the place.
Interesting. Unusual symptom, but fair enough. Do you get breathless?
No, not at all.
Do you have a cough?
No cough.
Oh.
I've received notification that if I don't have the procedure done, there's a 50% chance that I would die in 2 years or so.
It's a really important valve. I mean, it's crucial, obviously, to getting your blood around your body. And it needs to be able to flow through the heart to be oxygenated when it comes back. So it's really important. So, what's your question?
Well, I was worried about this if I'm going to have it done. I'm just waiting, and I hope it don't take 2 years because I might not be here.
Here we go. Yeah, the usual situation. Wait a minute, Ray. Before we carry on, let me just ask Dr. Renee, why would what did you call it? The aortic?
It's calcification.
Oh, right.
So yeah. So it's age, and it's the valve has got flaps on it that just get really, really stiff, so they don't open to let the blood through, so it gets really narrow. But it's age, it's lifestyle, some of it's genetic.
But Ray, you said you're not breathless, you're not coughing. What exactly are the symptoms?
Balance.
Well,
apart from balance, anything? Just balance, is it?
More or less, yeah.
So that means that your blood flow going up to your brain isn't as good as it should be.
Oh, that would be it. Yeah.
Important. Where are you having it done?
I'm having it done in Essex at Basildon.
Okay. All right, not Barts. I thought you might be going to Barts because you were in Essex. Have they given you an indication of the wait times?
No, but I've had notification of the procedure and all that.
Okay, and have you got a pre-operative assessment appointment?
I've had all the scans, everything, and I've been okayed to have it done. It'll be beneficial to have that TAVI procedure rather than open heart surgery. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where they're going to go into the veins and go into your aorta without cutting open your sternum and opening it up that way. So it's almost like endoscopic surgery for the heart.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Thank you. Sounds like you need to have it done, Ray. I would go for it. And it sounds to me like they're probably going to do it reasonably quickly.
I hope so. I've had dye squirted into my arteries or veins to make sure that there's enough room for the procedure.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, good luck.
Well, Ray, best of luck, and thanks for calling. Good to talk to you. And look after yourself. Thank you very much. Ray, a new caller in Essex there. Shall we go to break? And when we come back, Violetta, lovely name, in St Albans. Stay where you are. We'll talk to you. That next.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've had an important inquiry here. Let me find it here. Yeah, this is Kenny from Edinburgh. You can text it. If you're shy, you can always text in your condition
Don't be shy.
like Kenny has. Hi, Kevin. Could you ask Dr. Renee how I can cure the pain in my backside that mysteriously started when Labour got into power?
Very good.
I'll tell you how we cure it, Kenny, is we get rid of them. But you may have to have that pain in your backside for the next 4 years. We all will. And there's no cure. Oh, dear. Right, let's go back to the calls. As I said, we're going to talk to the beautifully named Violetta in St Albans. Hi, Violetta. Please talk to Dr. Renee. I gather you can't feel your feet.
Hi, Violetta.
Hello, Dr. Renee. Oh, first of all, good evening, Kevin.
Hi, Violetta. Nice to speak to
I
you.
watch your show. Oh, my goodness me. Every single time. And Dr. Renee, I'm missing you Saturday, Sunday morning with Dr. Bo.
Well, you got her now, Violet. That's why I bring her in.
No, it's not. It's just like a chit chat. Dr. Renee, may I please ask you something?
You can try.
I am absolutely belonging. I do belong to a phenomenal GP surgery. But in all of this turmoil of whatever is happening here, our GPs have got only 10 to 15 minutes for the talk to the patient, examining the patient, and the paperwork.
Yes. It's hard.
It's the best surgery in this little city of St Albans, and I love my doctors.
Good to hear.
That is nice to hear, because we usually get complaints, so that's good news. But I gather you can't feel your feet. Is that right, Violetta?
That is correct.
Okay.
I have got.
You go.
Okay, Dr. Renee, I'm talking to you now.
Yeah, because I can't help you on this one, Violetta.
I know. I'm an intensive care nurse, only 40 years of that.
Come on, let's get to it. Go on, tell Renee what the problem is.
Okay, doc. Dr. Renee, I've got so-called peripheral neuropathy.
Okay.
What is that?
In my feet.
So the nerves have
my ankles.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of the blue 5 months ago. I'm almost 61 years old.
Young.
And I am absolutely fit and healthy. It came out of the blue.
Okay. A couple of questions, Violetta.
Yeah.
Is it both feet?
Is it both feet?
Both feet?
Is it? Can you not feel either of your feet, or is it just one foot?
40% of them I can feel.
Okay. Is it the same pattern on both feet?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Has your GP done blood tests for things like B12, blood sugar? Done all of those?
Okay, doc. You are very, very clever, as I suspected. Diabetes, B12 deficiency, and vitamin D. Now, I have got 0 chance of having diabetes.
No one's got 0 chance of having diabetes.
So why would I have diabetes when I have got absolutely 0 symptoms of diabetes?
Well, you've got peripheral neuropathy.
Sufficiency.
So how can Renee help you, Violetta? What is it that you want to ask her?
Have you had those tests done, Violetta?
No, I haven't.
Right, you need to have those tests done. So vitamin B12 is really, really important for nerves and can cause tingling and pins and needles at your peripheries. So that's the first thing. Vitamin D, yes, but we should all be taking vitamin D. And people that have darker skin need more, because you can't absorb any from the limited sunlight that we get. Anybody can get diabetes. Now, I know that it's quite common for people who are overweight to get it, but Michael Mosley got pre-diabetes and he wasn't overweight. So anybody can get it. So that's an important test as well. If those are all fine, I mean, I would be tempted to just take a B12 supplement anyway. If those are all fine, then you're looking at autoimmune conditions.
Yes.
So you need then some more funky tests that the rheumatologists do, looking at your autoimmune markers. There are lots of them. And you may need a referral to rheumatology.
Ouch. That's very interesting. I am taking vitamin B12 and vitamin D supplements, omega-3. I don't do any other medication.
Good for you. Now, the thing about vitamin B12 is, if you've got true vitamin B12 deficiency, you actually won't really be absorbing it through your stomach because you won't have the intrinsic factor that you need. So some people actually need a monthly or 3 monthly injection.
Yeah, deposit.
Yeah.
Sorry?
A deposit injection.
A deposit.
A depot injection.
A depot injection, yeah.
But it's not really a depot, but yes, that's what they need. So I would first of all go and get those tests. If this has been going on for 5 months, you need those tests. You also need to examine your lower back and make sure that you haven't got anything going on in your lower back, which is actually causing a sciatica in both legs. And for that, you'll need an MRI. And if it is your lower back in both legs, you definitely need an MRI. So as your GP, if I saw you, those are the things that I would be doing initially to investigate why you've got this.
All right, Violetta.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Pleasure.
you. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much for ringing. Look after yourself. That's Violetta, the inimitable Violetta in St Albans. No, it was a nice call. And I think you were very able to help her in the end, so that was good. Let's go to... we've got plenty of time, haven't we? Let's go to Andrew in Bristol. Andrew, welcome to the show. Please talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, Doctor, and good evening to you, Kevin.
Hi.
A couple of things I want to just make a comment on. First of all, your caller recently called about the aortic valve replacement.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got a very close relation that had this done last year.
And it was brilliant.
And it was a complete success.
Yes.
She's a new woman, basically.
Yeah.
And,
So it's a good operation, yeah.
You need it.
whoever does this,
Yeah.
it should be a success.
Thank you for that.
Good. That's good to hear. What about you, Andrew?
The other thing I'd like to mention, this last Monday I was at my local community hospital to have a polypectomy, a polyp which they discovered on a previous sigmoid. They took it out en bloc, and now, of course, I'm not going to preempt the results, but we are waiting for the results to come back as far as a biopsy is concerned.
Okay, so just to tell people at home, can I just tell people at home what you've got going on? So lots of people, when they have a colonoscopy, they find polyps in the bowel, and they can be anywhere, with Andrew there in the sigmoid colon. And
Polyps are kind of spots.
polyps are outgrowths of the mucosa of these, so they're like little outgrowths, and what they do is they take them away and they biopsy them. But if they do find polyps, they tend to do surveillance on you then going forward, be that every 3 years, every 5 years, because they do have the potential to turn cancerous. So that's why you're now waiting for your histology results to see, I assume, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly, Dr. Rennie. I'm given to understand, though, that most of these polyps do turn out to be benign.
Yes.
I don't want to preempt the results because they won't be due back yet for a while. But I think I'm given to understand that these things are normally okay.
They're normally okay, and I think it's one of those things in medicine, be careful what you look for, you see. This is why we try not to do brain MRIs on people, because 10% have a benign cyst like Davina McCall, but once you've found it, then you take them away. So I would imagine lots of us are walking around with polyps that are absolutely fine, but we just never know about them. But because they've found yours now, they have to test them. But you're right, the majority are benign.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, Andrew. Good luck. I'm sure it'll be fine. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much for ringing. Andrew in Bristol. Well, we're doing well. We're really working through some calls here. Let's go up to Scotland, Edinburgh. Another new caller. Love a new caller. Let's talk to Stuart. Stuart, nice to speak to you. Please talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Stuart.
Hi, good evening to both of you. So pretty similar situation to many people, I think. We tried to get my wife in to see a doctor on the NHS. It was impossible. So we ended up going private, and she got an endoscopy done, and she was diagnosed with a small hiatus hernia. But they weren't concerned about it. They didn't think it was anything to worry about. But she's struggling to swallow. Whenever she starts eating or drinking, it's always at the start of a meal or a drink, she gets like a blockage.
Okay.
And it takes sort of 10, 15 seconds to clear, and then eventually it passes. But they didn't think that was anything to do with a hiatus hernia. So
no, I was going to say that. So just so people know, hiatus hernia is when the stomach is actually slipping back up through the sphincter. It's sort of sliding backwards and forwards, inside and out. So people do get reflux symptoms from that. But not if she's got a blockage, and that will be higher up. But they would have seen that when they did the endoscopy, because when they do the endoscopy, they put a camera down and they have a look at the esophagus all the way down. So I wonder if she's just got acid from the hiatus hernia that is rising up at night and burning her esophagus up higher. So it's actually causing some friction there.
Yeah, she's been taking a lot of omeprazole and a lansoprazole or something like that. She's taken them all for months, and it's not made any difference. But I think they were talking about doing another test.
A barium swallow.
No, it wasn't that. It was another one where they put something down and she had to keep it and be like monitored for 24 hours.
So this is to test the pressures. So it's mammometry. Okay, so that's something else you could do. I mean, a very simple test that I often do with patients that feel that they can get food stuck is I do a barium swallow. So that's just an X-ray, but you swallow a radio-opaque liquid, and they take the X-ray, and then if there's any pockets or any sphincters that are causing a blockage, they can see them. But I would say if she's had an endoscopy, she probably doesn't need that, because they would have seen that on the way down. So I think yes, the next test would be that, the mammometry.
Okay, and that's so again, it would be going private.
Yeah. It's the story of so many people's lives, Stuart.
You see, this is where we're really lucky in London, because tests like that, Stuart, endoscopy, we can refer, just to the local private hospital under contract, and they can get done quite quickly. We can directly refer. But I learnt this week, because I was dealing with a friend's child, that outside of London, the services are woefully worse.
Yeah, we have to go to Glasgow to get it done. And I mean, I'm a taxi driver, and she works in a care home. We are not well off.
No.
But we've now taken out private healthcare.
Yeah, well, I think this.
Existing, but
yeah, I mean, this is the sad situation that, I mean, it's not good, but you can't put a price on your health, and
no, exactly.
So what's your wife's name, Stuart?
Media.
Well, look, give our best to Amelia, and I hope it all works out.
I'm so sorry.
All the best. Thank you very much for ringing. Stuart in Edinburgh. What we were saying earlier.
Do you know, all these procedures, Kevin, even an endoscopy, you're into 1,500 quid, 2,000 quid.
I know.
Oh.
And but this is it. You've got these socialists, these Labour idiots. Oh, it must remain, no private, even not a scintilla of private. Well, while they're sticking to their ideology, their sacred ideological religion, people like Stuart and millions of other people, it's probably millions, certainly hundreds of thousands, are literally having to remortgage their homes, sell their cars to just raise cash to get treatment, because you can't just let yourself die, can you? I mean, it's just this is it's not just a broken NHS. This is a broken country, and this government is smashing it to pieces as far as.
And private healthcare. So I have private healthcare, and it's really expensive. When you get above 50, it's really expensive.
NHS GP has private health. So what else do you need?
Yeah, but do you know what? It's invaluable.
I know. Tell me about it.
But I'm lucky enough. Well, I'm lucky enough. I've got Colin that buys it for us. But that we can afford it.
There you go, folks. Get yourself a rich partner and get them to get you private medical. It's easy, you see. No, seriously. If any of you are having to do that, our utmost sympathy. It's really not a good situation, and it's infuriating. We've got a government that aren't recognising this. People hocking themselves.
They still
up
think
to their necks to get basic medical treatment that should be available.
They still think that the NHS is the envy of the world.
The envy of the world. It's a joke of the world. We're going to go to break now, and Fiona in Sussex, stay where you are. We will talk to you next.
I think he would always be afforded a degree of security. He's just got to let people know what he's doing, because I'm absolutely sure he is not going to be left with no security should he come here. But as long as he briefs people where he's coming, what he's doing, then I think it's probably likely to happen. What the defence from the Home Office is as he's no longer a working member of Royal, he comes into a different category. And that's where the grey area is about. But I'm pretty sure that he is never going to be left without security.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's called Dr. Renee. Let's get straight back to the surgery and go to Sussex. Another new caller. Love new callers. It's Fiona. Fiona, talk to Dr. Renee. You've got a terrible pain in your lower back. I've got quite a lot of sympathy for that condition. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hey, Fiona.
Oh, hello. Well, I've had it for quite a long time, and I'm in my 70s, and I'm thinking, my time of life, you know, what can they really do? But it really is encroaching my life. I used to walk a lot, and I can't even go up to the shops without feeling breathless, and the pain in my back, it's like something's dropped down and it's digging in the base of my spine.
Okay.
I've had 4 children, and I thought perhaps it's something to do...
Punishment.
Yes.
Serves you right, Fiona. Only kidding. Fiona, have you seen any doctors about this?
Well, I haven't really. I mean, I do go to the doctors about my thyroid. I've got an underactive thyroid problem, but I don't actually see a doctor. You tend to see nurses that do blood tests.
Here we go again.
I haven't seen a doctor since about 2017.
Okay, so I tell you what, Fiona, these are my questions. Does the pain go down your legs at all?
I've got no feeling in my feet at all. It's almost like from the knees down, they're numb.
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Okay. And across your lifespan, have you ever had back problems, or is this a relatively later in life problem?
Well, I worked in hospitals and in care homes, and in my time I've done a lot of lifting. I mean, when I started out, you literally physically lift people, and so I wondered if it's something to do with, what I've done in the past.
But this back pain started after the age of 50?
Yes.
Okay, so for that reason alone, you need an MRI, and the fact that it's in both legs, the numbness, you need an MRI. That MRI will look at what's happening with the nerves and the bones, and there are absolutely things that can be done. So the things that probably can be done first off is they can do steroid injections into that area to actually take away the pain. And that's a relatively common procedure. Watch that going on all of the time, and quite often that's very successful. So that's the first thing. Depending on what else is going on, later things that could be done are surgery, and please don't think at 70 that that's not going to happen, because it absolutely will. So, but you really do need an MRI to make sure that it is just back pain and there isn't something else going on as well. So that's why it's important, because usually people that have back pain have had back niggles for their entire life, and it just goes up and down. The fact that it's affecting both legs means that you must get an MRI. So please don't see the nurse, insist on seeing a doctor. Say Dr. Rennie said you have to see a doctor. And there's one thing you have to look out for. Yeah, if you lose control of your bowel or bladder...
Yes, I must admit, I'm actually forever wanting to spend a penny, and it's really embarrassing.
But
it's stopping me from sort of... my friend and I were both widowed, and we used to go away and stay away, but I won't do it anymore, and I can't tell anybody because I'm frightened of having accidents.
OK, this is an emergency. I mean, I would be tempted... You're in Sussex, are you?
Yes.
OK, I mean, I'd be tempted. We tell people if they lose control of their bowel or bladder to go to A&E, because that's the medical emergency. But if this has been going on for a long time, then I'd say probably that window has gone. But this is definitely an emergency with your GP. You need to tell them about the accidents. Don't be embarrassed. And she needs to, or he needs to, I say she because most GPs are, they need to kick into action quickly. Do you promise me you'll go and do that?
I will do that.
You must, Fiona. It sounds like you really do need that. I mean, we've got to move on in a second, but is that a kind of sciatica thing? You know, trapped nerves. That's called it referred pain, don't they?
Yeah, but the problem is if it's affecting your bowel and bladder, it means it's getting to a critical stage.
Okay. Well, Fiona, I've had the same, not as bad as you, but I've had all that as well. About the lower back and the numb legs and everything, and it's not nice. So get lively, get cracking with this. It sounds like you've got to do something now, yes?
People's corner, but when it comes to me, if it was one of my children, my grandchildren, I'd be there on the case straight away.
Right, pretend it's one. Pretend it's one of your
them.
children.
Look after yourself, Fiona. Yes. You're going to go and do something, yes?
Yes, I will do so.
You do that. You call us back. Let us know how it goes.
OK, then, we'll do.
Really nice to talk to you. You take care now. That's Fiona in Sussex. What a nice lady.
Do you see, these are the people who are not going to the doctors, and yet I've seen today 40-year-old men who've had a cold for 3 days. No, exactly.
Fiona, lovely lady, I can tell that. It's one of those ladies who doesn't want to be a bother.
Doesn't want to be a bother.
Well,
everyone else is being a bother.
Fiona, you're still listening. Be a bother. Be a bother. You look after yourself. Be like me. Be entirely selfish about everything. Right, let's go to our next call. We're coming towards the end, but should we talk to William? He's a new caller, and his wife has abdominal pain after eating. Hello, William. He's in Leicester. Hi.
Hello, William.
Are you there, William? No? All right, we'll go to Grace in Peterborough. Hello, Grace.
Hello, Kevin. Hello, Renee.
Hi.
Hello, Grace. How can I help?
Renee, I should say. Yes, I've suffered with heart failure for quite a long time now. I think it was someone in the office when I worked giving me COVID. So I was told by my lovely consultant about 10, 11 months ago that he recommended I had a pacemaker fitted. Sorry, I run out of air sometimes.
That's all right. Okay, go on. Take your time. Take your time.
And I haven't heard anything from him. He said he would refer me to his specialist to talk to me about it. I don't know. I mean, I'm terrified of it, the thought, because I've read up on it, and it's, you know, being awake and all the rest of it. Should I nag them, or is this normal?
No, you should nag them. But what the GP can help here. So if the GP looks up your last letter where the consultant said he would do that, they can then just email the department and say, hey, in your letter you said you would do this. Has it been done?
Right. Okay. That's fine then. Only I didn't want to be a pain because and I didn't want to leave it. I was trying to walk a middle line, but I do run out of air and energy quite a lot.
Be a pain. Pacemaker's an important thing. Be a pain.
Right.
Be a pain. Be a pain, Grace. Yeah?
Okay then, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
you look after yourself. Thank you very much for calling. We nearly got through to William, another new caller in Leicester just now. Let's hope he's there now. William, hi. Kevin here. Are you there?
Hello, Kevin.
Hi,
Hello,
mate.
Kevin.
Let me put you on to Dr. Renee right away. I gather your wife has some trouble.
Hi, William.
Talk to
How can
Dr.
I help?
Hi, Dr. Renee. Just hold on for my wife, Sandra.
Right. All right. Sandra's coming on the line in a minute. Is that Sandra?
Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hi, Dr. Renee. I've just experienced a bit of a problem since like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, because I started just having like pain from my belly button, like my belly button was like sort of like being pulled inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like going to the bathroom like frequently, like even if I want to go to the bathroom, I feel like I'm really, really pressed. But then when I go there, it's not like I have to go to the bathroom, just little urine would come out. And then I went to the GP, and then they checked for water infection, and there was nothing. They sent the urine to the labs, and there was nothing as well. And then I got some antibiotics for 3 days, and I just took those antibiotics, and it got a little bit better. But now, as soon as I eat, my stomach is just so bloated.
Okay, so I think it sounds like you've got two things going on here. I think that the 3-day course of antibiotics may not have been long enough. It may have needed to be 7. But you also need to be tested for something called Helicobacter pylori. It's a stool sample. It's a bacteria that can live in your stomach. It causes bloating, but you mustn't ignore the bloating. Bloating in a woman is always to be investigated, just in case it's something else going on in that pelvic area. So I think those are the things. I think you need to go back to your GP, maybe take an extended course of the antibiotic and do a Helicobacter test and tell them about the bloating.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So like most of the time, if I eat like any starch, that's when it gets worse. But if I have like veggies, just like salads and just meat, then I feel lighter. But when it comes to me taking like any food with starch, then
well,
it's just...
if you exclude gluten and it gets better, then it may mean that you're gluten intolerant or you need a celiac test. But the treatment for that is to just not eat gluten. So I would say if you're finding a food that irritates it in particular, stop that food.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Sandra, wasn't it? Good to talk to you, Sandra. Thank you very much for calling. Regards to William, your husband. Well, that's about it, Renee. I gather you're not here next week, is
No,
that?
Sorry.
Where are you going to be this time then?
Just going away for a little bit.
Yeah, somewhere glamorous. see, one of the problems for these doctors, they earn too much money, you see, so they're always abroad in glamorous places.
I might be going to Skegness.
Yeah, I bet you're not. No, been a fantastic call, Dr. Renee. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Listen, after the surgery is now closing its doors, sorry to everybody who didn't get through. We can never get to everybody who rings, but we do our best. So next week, I'm afraid Dr. Renee won't be here, but the week after, that we'll be back in business. So thanks, Dr. Renee.
Thank you.
And next up, it's all going on with Harry and Meghan. The Charity Commission has now opened an official investigation into Harry's former charity, Sentebale, over its alleged mismanagement and all sorts of other things going on with Meghan. So you don't want to miss that. Kinsey Schofield joins me after the news, so stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, a lot of people rang in at the beginning of the show when I was with Philip Kilsley discussing, among other things, you know, this asylum dispersal scheme that is spraying our migrants and asylum seekers all over the country and really perturbing local communities, many of them which are saying we can't cope with this. Particularly Glasgow, which says the situation there is untenable. More than 4,000 plunged upon them. So you might want to ring in about that. Have you got migrants in your local town? Do you feel you're under siege from asylum seekers? A lot of people do. 0344499 1000. Also, these barber shops, these Turkish barber shops, and also kebab shops. Police raiding the barber shops and finding £500,000. About time we did something about that. Also, people very, very energised, and I don't blame them, about Britain's biggest power station, the Drax power station in North Yorkshire, previously fuelled by a nearby coal mine 30 miles away. Since 2016, it has been fuelled by wood pellets, sailed or steamed or transported by puking, spewing, polluting tankers all the way from America all the way to Yorkshire, and then they pour them into the power station, and it produces more pollution into the air than coal ever would. We are paying subsidies to this unit, £869 million a year, because it's green. It's not really very green. That's costing us all £10 extra on our energy bills, and because we're giving it £869 million of subsidies, green subsidies, it's happily making a profit of £1.1 billion a year. That's not mad, is it? Oh, wait a minute, it is. Absolute basket case deranged insanity. Let me know what you think about that. 0344499 1000. And you might want to talk about Donald's tariffs, the Trump tariff show. Let me know what you think about that if you like. 0344499 1000. We'll get to you, all of you, well, not every single one, as many as we can, in about sort of 20-25 minutes. And then for the rest of the show, we'll talk. It's good to talk on Talk, folks. And there's lots to talk about as this country goes to hell in a handcart. Thank you very much, Keir. Thank you. What a great job you're doing of not running this country. Unbelievable, unbelievable. But before we get to you, let's talk about the royals. Let's talk about Meghan and Harry. We really, really do need to, because the big story is just broken about Prince Harry. He's had a hell of a week with his charity, his former charity, Sentebale. I think it was about this time last week he quit, didn't he? Sensationally quit, because he's having a row with Sentebale's chairwoman, Dr. Sophie Chandorka, a redoubtable lawyer who won't take any of his crap. And she's been labelling him a bully, a racist, a misogynoirist, which is a hatred of black women. You name it, she's slung the book at him, and he's reeling. He's reeling. He's absolutely distraught by this. Meanwhile, of course, Meghan's far too busy to help her husband in his hour of need. This is the worst scandal of his life. She's nowhere to be seen. She's busy hawking jam and honey and herbal tea from her awful website as ever. You know, trying to make $1 billion or something. Where is she? Is she going to help her husband? Is she going to say anything? What's wrong with her? But the big story's just emerged today, a couple of hours ago. Sentebale now is at the centre of an official charity commission investigation into mismanagement and concerns raised about the entire enterprise. Don't forget, Dr. Chandorka was very worried about the colonial nature of the fundraising methods favoured by Harry, you know, posh millionaires playing polo in Florida to raise money for dirt poor black kids in Africa. White saviorism, anyone? He just doesn't get it, does he? Anyway, he now stands accused of everything that he's accused us of. You know, the Brits and the royal family. Oh, you're all racist, unconscious bias racist. Well, he stands accused of the same thing now, only worse. So, how does he like it? Getting a taste of his own medicine, isn't he? But surely his wife should be supporting him? No, no, no. What about my jam? Ugh. So tawdry and tacky. Let's talk to our royal commentator, the excellent guru over on the West Coast, Kinsey Schofield, of course. Welcome, Kins.
Hey, Kev.
Well, my God, it's all going on. Let's get to Meghan and Harry and this terrible week that he's had, and Dr. Sophie Chandorka and Sentebale soon. But this is just broken. Now, this charity that Harry founded in 2006 in honour of his late great mum, Princess Diana, to help kids afflicted by the scourge of AIDS and HIV. Many of them left orphans because their parents died when AIDS was sweeping through the African continent. Now, a good charity, it's done a lot of good work, but my God, it is unravelling fast. Sophie Chandorka says it's basically Harry and his mates have mismanaged it. And now the Charity Commission here, the watchdog of all charities, very austere organisation, has opened an official investigation into what's gone wrong here, into mismanagement. And Harry has come out of the woodwork and issued his first statement on all of this, saying, this is Harry, what has transpired over the last week has been heartbreaking to witness, especially when such blatant lies hurt those who have invested decades in this shared goal. He won't give up, will he? Your thoughts?
My thoughts are... I would have asked your friend not to come out and accuse the doctor of being jealous of your wife for not being the most important person of color, is how Alex Rayner said it to the Daily Mail on the stage. I mean, Prince Harry hasn't done himself any favors throughout this process. He can accuse Dr. Sophie of lies all he wants, but his side has been slinging mud just as much as her side has.
Indeed, and Rayner and his so what Harry has done is maintained a sort of haughty royal silence personally, but
never
he has
complain, never explain when it's convenient.
Yeah, except he isn't really doing that because he's deployed his posh pals to go out there and defend him, this Alex Rayner guy, and they have had the temerity to say that this Sophie Chandorka, she's awful, she's playing the race card. Coming from Harry, coming from Meghan, the most voracious player of the race card in the history of humankind. Unbelievable. Double standards, hypocrisy. How dare Harry accuse anyone else of playing the race card? It's disgusting, I think.
It is disgusting, but the hypocrisy continues because according to the Telegraph, Dr. Sophie Chandorka is not as qualified as we have been presenting her to be. You see, they say that the honorific doctor title that she uses is not an earned medical or academic title. This is them saying, basically trying to discredit this woman, saying instead it derives from an honorary doctorate in business administration awarded to her by the University of Coventry in 2023, seemingly in recognition of her diversity campaigning. So they're trying to discredit this woman and tell people like us we shouldn't or don't need to call her doctor. Kevin, this is coming from a pair of American residents that insist we refer to them as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Yeah. Like the irony that they're going to try to discredit this woman by saying, well, she's not really a doctor.
Yeah.
When they insist that we refer to them as the Duke and Duchess. How Duke and Duchess are these two sitting in their Montecito mansion with their 16 bathrooms?
But would that be the Meghan that's not really a royal?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
that one.
exactly.
Oh, I thought it was, yeah. How dare they? What is wrong with this couple? I mean,
it's ridiculous.
And by the way, Kinsey, look, as far as I'm concerned, Harry deserves this. To see the tables turned on him. He spent, 5 years accusing me and all my fellow Brits and the royal family of all being racist, slave drivers. You know, I'm not racist, but you all are. Unconscious bias. Well, he has had the tables humiliatingly turned on him. Dr. Chandorka, Sophie Chandorka, a woman of colour. As far as I'm concerned, I'm told she's a lawyer. I don't see what, you know. So she's a lawyer, a woman of colour. She certainly can speak for herself. She's a formidable lady. He said, no. She said, you are the racist. By the way, she was sick and tired of Harry's form of fundraising, white saviorism, colonial, you know, rich millionaires smugly playing polo, drinking champagne, a long, long way away from the poor little dirt poor black kids they were supposed to be helping. Sophie thought this was a bad look. She said, let's start raising money in Africa and not at polo matches a million miles away. That's what Harry didn't like, and that's why Harry wanted to get rid of her. She refused, so Harry quit instead. Now, OK, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, Harry deserves everything he gets. This is a serious argument, and I don't mean to make light of accusations of bullying, of racism, of misogyny. You shouldn't make light of that. But you can't help taking a certain pleasure in seeing this guy getting a dose of his own medicine. But he is, we know, absolutely distraught over this. He has been floored by this. He is in a kind of agony. Where is his damn wife? Where is she? Yeah. Why isn't she out there defending him?
I have a theory. I have a very strong theory here, because one of the stories that the Telegraph also told is from an anonymous source that's formally within the charity, was that basically Dr. Sophie Chandorka bulldozed her way into this position, that she was initially approached about helping them find someone to be the new chairperson. They wanted Sophie, because of her history on the board, she was on the board for 6 years, they asked her to help them filter through some applicants, and Dr. Sophie was furious and threatened them with a lawsuit that she wasn't being considered, that she was going to have people look into the fact that she wasn't, according to these reports, according to a source that works within the charity. So my argument is, I think that because of the way that Harry and Meghan have tried to be anti-racism activists and these real virtue signalers.
How's that going for them now?
Yeah, exactly. I think that because they have positioned themselves as these, you know, virtue signalers, that they likely pushed for Dr. Sophie to have this opportunity based on, I don't think it was a fear as much as they recognized that what she said kind of aligned with the arguments they'd been making over the years. I think Meghan Markle isn't saying anything because Meghan Markle pushed for Dr. Sophie to get that position in some way, shape, or form, and it's backfired extraordinarily.
Yeah, let's remember, though, Sophie Chandorka has been the chair woman of Sentebale for 6 years. Harry used to think...
No, she was on the board for 6 years. She's a relatively new chair.
Okay, so she's been around the charity for 6 years. So Harry knows her, and Harry apparently used to think the sun shone out of her backside, but he's rather changed his position now. Now, he stands accused, as I say, of being a kind of white saviour, colonial, racist, who bullied and talked down to Sophie imperiously. And of course we know that then there was this awful moment when at a polo event, the trophy presentation, Meghan turned up unexpectedly and she decided she would present the award. And we're looking at it now, this awful, awkward, excruciating shuffling. And after this, because everybody started talking about it, the whole world was gossiping. What on earth is going on there? As these two women women, Meghan and Sophie, jostle for position, and Meghan obviously tries to take prime position. Harry, in order to diffuse this, gets in touch with Sophie Chandorka and says, "You've got to issue a statement of support for my wife." She said no. First of all, she didn't want to. And secondly, she said, look, Sentebale is not an extension of Brand Sussex. Harry then is said to have imperiously, just imagine it, demanded that she explained herself. Who does he think he is?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think he's likely learned a few lessons from Meghan, who we've heard is a bully, allegedly, for years now. I've heard that she's a bully longer than I didn't hear that she was a bully.
Yeah.
But
Call her a bully, she won't sue you, I'll tell you that. She didn't sue the Hollywood Reporter, who called her a flat-out bully, and she didn't sue Vanity Fair, who, over 8,000 words, called her the most awful bullying boss in the history of Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, you know, when we look at why Prince Harry defends Meghan so fiercely and why she's not defending him so fiercely, I do wonder how much she had to do with Dr. Sophie's placement in as the chairwoman. But I also wonder, we quoted a few weeks ago, from page 6, somebody was talking about how frustrated Harry and Meghan were with the Heritage Foundation case, because they were working so hard to have a...
That's the Heritage Foundation in Washington, the think tank that is still waging a long legal battle to get to the details of his visa application to live in America revealed, because they say it's possible he might have lied about his drug use.
Yes, and the story was that Harry and Meghan were angry because they were working so hard to have a squeaky clean image, and Prince Harry's continuous the headlines surrounding Prince Harry's drug use was negatively affecting, in Meghan's mind, the squeaky clean image she'd worked so hard to create. And I think that I see that a little bit here as well, that professional separation. Meghan is posting, "Please buy my honey, please buy my jam." Meanwhile, Prince Harry's having one of the worst PR weeks of his 40 years on this planet. I think
it's the scandal. I think it's the scandal of his life. I think it is the scandal of his life.
There was the Halloween costume. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I think it's this. And he cherishes his royal brand. And it may now be destroyed beyond repair. It really has been knocked for six.
Let me ask you this. If the court rules in his favor, do you think Sentebale will ever be what it was before?
No,
because
I think
millions of people heard the word Sentebale for the first time within the last 2 weeks, and their description of them, or the perception of that charity, has already been put into their minds based on this scandal. I don't know how he goes back if she's given the boot and recovers from this.
Yeah, I don't think he'll go back at all. Now, this is why I think that Meghan, I think this is so bad that she's doing nothing to help her husband. Nothing. Here's why I think she isn't doing anything, why she doesn't want to. I think she doesn't want to be seen anywhere near this guy at the moment, old Ginger Nuts, her husband. It's because she's busy trying to sell her non-jam and her honey tea and all of that crap that she's got on sale on Ever at last. $14 for a jar of fruit spread. Can't be called jam because there's not enough sugar in it, apparently. Now, so she's launching what she thinks is going to be $1 billion business. Now, she's got enough problems with her own image for being a bully. But right now, her husband is enmeshed in this massive row scandal, standing accused of being a bully, a racist, imperiously talking down to a woman of colour, a kind of white saviour colonialist, and so on. The worst allegations you could possibly imagine. He hasn't responded to them. I think he probably should. But she doesn't want to be anywhere near him because that is going to be a very bad look as she tries to flog all of her jam, tries to get this business going. That's why I think we've heard nothing from Meghan to support her husband.
Well, it's also a diversion tactic. For Meghan, it's the same with, hey guys, I got season 2 of my show that's already recorded and being edited and done. You know, a surprise, I just found out I got season 2. Really? Because the contract says otherwise.
You always knew, didn't she? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that was just to distract from all of the negative headlines surrounding what a piece of you-know-what the show was. The show itself was absolutely horrific. It was being destroyed by legitimate TV critics and by legitimate outlets that have in the past pandered to these two. And so to distract from it, she did, she came out, did some twirls on Instagram and said, hey, guess what? I'm getting a season 2. So yesterday, when all of the you-know-what's hitting the fan, Meghan comes out and says, oh my God, you guys, I sold out. I sold out, even though, like, for all we know, and actually I've heard that the supplies that they produced, the inventory was in incredibly small numbers.
Old technique. Create the illusion, the image that your products are deeply in demand so that everybody else wants to get a slice of the action. I can reveal...
And so all of the Sussex, pro-Sussex outlets are going, oh my God, can you believe Meghan Markle sold out? Wow, she's so impressive. She did it. And then everybody that has a half a brain cell is like, actually, can we focus on the problem here? They're saying Prince Harry's a racist.
Yeah, exactly right. And she doesn't want to be involved with allegations of racism, colonialism, white saviorism, bullying, and talking imperiously down to a woman of colour, which he clearly did. That last thing, he clearly did, demanding that Sophie explain herself. And now we can see, as you said earlier, Kinsey, that he's waging this covert campaign to discredit Sophie Chandorka. Stop it, Harry. Stop it. This is just wrong. Shouldn't be doing this. Let's also, these people, it's such an eventful week. We need also to talk about a story that's emerged today that, of course, he's continuing like a dog with a bone to pursue this legal case against his father's country, his father's government, which is basically what the British government is, the King's government, to demand armed police protection when he comes back to Britain, when he visits his home country. Now, he's been turned down time and time again for this because he's not a frontline royal, he's not a working royal, and therefore does not warrant armed police protection. But he continues this case, this legal case, to try and persuade or get the government to give him this. So he's gone back to court, the appeal court, yet again. He won't succeed. He should stop wasting the court's time. But I had an idea, I had a thought today, put a tweet out and send it to you, that, look, Meghan now is hogging so much of the limelight, blotting him out of the picture. So we've hardly seen him for ages. It's all Meghan, me, Meghan, buy my jam, buy my honey, buy my rubbish. You can't even see him. So I just think he should leave it a while. And then when he comes back to Britain, he won't need any security at all because people won't remember what he looks like. They won't recognise him. That could work.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. But I think that the real question here is why. Ravik has always said police protection is an option based on the circumstances. And I think I'm not being generous enough to suggest 9 out of 10 times Harry has received those armed guards when he lands in the UK. I'm tempted to say 10 out of 10 times Harry has actually received the armed guards since he's visited post-Megxit. I'd be surprised if he hadn't. Because I feel like that would have been a story. So Ravik's always said it's on a case-by-case basis. We're just not going to be at your beck and call. We have some protocol you have to go through. You have to tell us 20x whatever days prior to you coming that you're going to be here. If Prince Harry is showing up to work with Well Child, if Prince Harry is showing up to support his father in some way, shape, or form, or brother, there is going to be armed guards there waiting for him. If Meghan Markle wants to come Christmas shopping or wants to come stay at the Soho House so she can hang out with some of her invisible friends, then no, armed guards
imaginary
probably,
friends.
armed guards are probably not, they're not going to be there waiting for her. But if they're going to be there with some real value and purpose behind the visit, then I suspect that they will have the security that they need or want. These two people are impossible to please. And they, you know, the king hasn't even, I don't even think the king has spent a significant amount of time with his grandchildren. So I don't know what his drama is when most of the time he's going to have this exact security that he's asking for. Actually, I do, because you've told me it's all ego, and he's mad that Prince William gets something that he doesn't.
That's what it is. You're right. He's perfectly able and entitled to request armed police protection when he comes back. Then the police will make a decision about whether or not he warrants it. But what annoys him is he no longer automatically warrants armed police protection, and his hated brother does. William does. Or
and you quit your job, Harry. You quit your job. If I were to quit my job, you know what happens? I lose my health insurance. I lose my parking space. I lose my free lunch or whatever. I lose the perks. You lose the perks when you quit your job. That's just the world.
Yeah, indeed. Now, Meghan is posting pictures of her produce now all over social media. She's mailed out packages of her jam and stuff. Sorry, fruit spread, to people like Kim Kardashian to get publicity. So she is, acting like a saleswoman possessed. And, you know, this was the woman who was going to be the great philanthropist, who was going to change the world. And now she's just like somebody standing at a stall trying to flog stuff.
I talked to Kim Kardashian earlier today, and she said to receive a jar of preserves. She said to receive a jar of preserves from the same woman that inspired people like to dance in the street, like when Nelson Mandela was finally released from prison. She said it was a spiritual moment. I'm just kidding. None of that happened. Yeah. But yes, she told us she was going to be the second coming of Mother Teresa. And here she is hawking her jars of jam.
Look, I don't want to be sort of British and uncommercial, because you know what we're like, and I don't want to be too snobbish, but I'm probably going to be. I mean, it is a tawdry, tacky spectacle to see her just saying, buy my jam, I'm going to be a billionaire. It's just unpleasant. It's an unpleasant spectacle, and she's sunk very low, I think. I think Harry must be looking at this because he's a royal. He doesn't know about money, or he's not interested in being a billionaire. He's never had to worry about money.
He just learned how to pay his own phone bill, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So he must be looking at this and thinking, what the hell is going on? She clearly hasn't got time to even talk to him, doesn't want to be seen with him, will not defend him because she's got better things to do. Apparently, we hear he's just moping around the Montecito mansion, not doing very much at all. Has been absolutely floored by this, is absolutely distraught about that he now stands accused of being a racist. And you wonder, don't you, just how much longer can this relationship last?
Yes, and you know, I'm with you. If Meghan Markle was just trying to make money to support her family, because she says to the New York Times, "I have to work." Like, I get it.
Oh yeah,
but you know what? I think you are a mean girl, and I watched you tear down an institution that I respect, I love, and I value. And not only did you sit there and lie about them and try to destroy them, utilizing and manipulating the United States media, but you continue to milk your proximity to them by throwing a title that the Queen would have never given you had she known what a disgrace you were going to be. The Queen would have never given them those titles had she known that they were going to be
Exactly right, Kinsey. She is cashing in on her semi-royal status, and I say that loosely, in a way that the late great Queen would be appalled by, absolutely appalled by. Listen, Kinsey, it's been one hell of a week. I could talk to you for another couple of hours on this, but we have to move on. But thank you so much for another excellent half an hour. Kinsey Schofield over on the West Coast there, our royal commentator. We're going to take your calls next. You might want to ring in about this. It's getting serious, folks. I've got lots and lots of calls, though, so stay tuned. And when we come back, your calls, your WhatsApp messages and your messages. So stick around.
Brits get a B, and you're complaining that you only got a B grade while everybody else gets a D.
We're among 60 countries. You got the D grade.
Why can't you celebrate the fact that it's only 10% and that you can negotiate your way out of it if you take certain measures?
OK, give us some advice. What can we pass on to Keir Starmer?
I think the logic for all nations is clear. Don't penalise our products, then you won't have punitive tariffs. It's really that easy. It's nothing more complicated. The mathematics are very simple.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just discussing a story with my team there. Sort of team story we would do. We might do it next week. You never know. Before we get to the phones, WhatsApp voice memos. Voice memos? Don't we call them voice notes? I like that. All right. WhatsApp voice memo, number one. James on tariffs.
I don't know why everyone's losing their mind over Trump and the tariffs. I'm not being funny, Kevin, but you've got David Lammy, calls him an ex-neo-Nazi sympathiser, and you've got that Pratt Starmer saying, I'm anti-Trump, I'm anti-Trump. I'm not surprised he's put a tariff on, and he's looking after America, what people voted for. Good on Trump. Why can't Starmer be like this, Kevin?
James, I couldn't agree with you more. Whatever you think about Donald Trump, I'm a bit of a fan, but he is looking after his own people, America first. Why can't we, as James quite rightly said, have a Prime Minister who wants to make Britain great again, look after our people, apart from, as opposed to looking after Ukraine and all the foreign migrants that come here? What about us? What about us? Look at Donald Trump. You know, all he's doing is looking after his own country and just squaring up the tariffs. You know, they used to put 1.3% on our products going to America. Meanwhile, we charge them 10%. So he just said, right, from now on, fair's fair. We're going to charge you 10%, and we'll carry on at 10% each. You know, it might not have a good effect on us, but how can we complain? How can we complain? We can't really, as I said earlier. This is all to do with the way America generously tried to help the rest of the world at that low point after the Second World War. And it's still going on. That's why there are unequal tariffs to America's disadvantage all over the world. And Donald Trump has had enough. And, you know, it's going to have a bad effect on a lot of countries. It ain't going to be too great for us. But you can't blame America, can you, really? You can't carry on and say, well, look, come on, carry on, 1.3%. Can't we carry on with that and we'll charge you 10%? No, you can't. So, let's go to the phones. New caller, Tracy in Glasgow. Hi, Tracy. You want to talk about asylum seekers? You are living in the asylum-seeking capital of the United Kingdom. How proud you must be.
Oh, I'm extremely proud of the SNP Council in Glasgow. Completely proud.
So how are things in? I mean, we were reading today, literally, that you've got more migrants than any other city. That you've got 4,000 and rising.
Well, they're planning to put another 300 into the east end of Glasgow. At the moment, they are.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we've got a really bad problem.
Yeah, and can you sense that they're there? Do you see them milling around and around the city?
Yeah, I see at the parks or in front of schools. There's been a couple along in the east end of Glasgow. There's been men gone to filming kids.
So you as a woman, do you feel unsafe? And are you sensing that kids don't feel safe?
Yeah, a few of my friends have been in the parks with the kids, and they've been these men taking video footage of the kids playing in the park.
Really?
And they're phoning the police, and the police have told them if they harass the men, they'll get in trouble for it.
Yeah, you'd be called racists. You'd be called racists, of course, of course.
They've not got any kids in the park playing with. I mean, these gents are not watching any kids except the wee girls and boys.
So these parks, that's where all the migrants, the asylum seekers are going. And of course, they're mostly young men, aren't they? Men between the age of about 18 and 35. So they're all going there. And as far as you're concerned, that's turning the parks, and I guess the streets as well, into no-go zones for women and children.
They're all standing outside, like you say, these Turkish barber shops. 10, 15 of them.
You've got loads of those as well, have you?
The young girls at the school. No, I mean, the school along in the east end of Glasgow, Bannerman High, they've actually issued a letter to the parents to tell them to tell their daughters to wear clothes.
To cover up. I've heard about this.
Yeah.
So British kids, British women are being advised to cover up because these migrant men, these asylum-seeking men, come from a culture where women are expected to cover up. Well, it's not our culture, is it, Tracy?
No, I mean, in Glasgow, this is the weather where we say tops off. No, I mean, Glasgow girls walk about with hardly anything else on, but that's your choice.
Yeah, it's up to you. Up to the girls of Glasgow. That's their choice in a free democracy. This is getting ridiculous, isn't it?
Schools are telling the parents to tell their kids to cover up. I mean, to wear trousers, to wear.
Schools are telling their the girl kids at schools to cover up because it might be Muslim men looking and leering.
They're hanging about the school gates, and the schools can't do anything about it. No, I mean, but tell the girls to do something what they don't want to do.
So how do you feel? You're a lifelong Glaswegian, are you? How do you feel about this, Tracy?
I'm sickened to it. I'm sickened to my scones and that. I mean, you see them hanging about the shops, you're hanging out in the supermarkets, filming. You see them with their phones out constantly, filming people.
Well, Tracy, listen, thank you for giving us a snapshot of the hellish situation, obviously, in Glasgow. Sorry it's going on for you, but thank you for calling, and please call me again. Keep me updated. New caller there, Tracy from Glasgow. What a story. Do you hear what she was saying? She's saying that schools and women are being told to cover up. I mean, we're talking about British women and British kids. Because, you know, there are these asylum-seeking men, you know, come from a different culture where women are expected to cover up. Well, you know, it's our country, it's not theirs. I hope you know, I mean, I barely know what to say, but I hope the women of Glasgow don't go along with that. But as for the kids, I don't know. What a situation. This is getting ridiculous, isn't it? Let's go to the excellent Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie.
Oh, good evening, Kevin. Look, I don't know about Trump's had enough. That story I've just heard just depressed me even more. I've had enough. Oh, for God's sake, Kevin, what is going on? You know, we've got this situation where Mad Ed Miliband is going to ruin this country by that station where they're burning wood now instead of coal.
Yeah, Drax.
Bringing it over. Oh, for God's sake. Listen, we can't afford to do anything. We are the most expensive electricity in the world.
Yeah, the highest energy bills in the entire world. And by the way, Herbie, our energy bills are 5 times higher than America. Unbelievable.
How can we be competitive?
Of course we can't. This net zero, Herbie, is going to ruin it already is ruining our economy. It's sending this country to hell in a handcart. Then we've got the asylum situation. There is this feeling, in my view, that this government is losing a grip, that the country is spinning out of control, and this Labour lot just don't have the ability to deal with it.
No, but the thing is, though, Kevin, the depressant that's coming into everybody now, it's going to backfire. I can see civil unrest happening this year. I can really feel it.
I don't like to encourage that kind of discourse, but I know what you're saying, Herbie. More and more people are saying this. We may be approaching some kind of crisis point. Herbie, I've got to go because the show's coming towards an end, but it's always good to talk to you. Keep on calling. Herbie in Harrow. Let's go to break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Quick WhatsApp voice note, Jerry, on immigrants.
It would be great if all us working class folk and middle class folk who have got the right way of thinking just left, all the left leaning middle classes and the illegal migrants to themselves. We'd soon see how poorly the country would be run then. even worse what it is just now. Mass exodus of us Brits. That's what we've got to do.
Well, Jerry, you're exactly right. I mean, we are way too generous to these people. I don't mean to be unkind, but we just shower them with gifts and money and free stuff. No wonder they all come here, and no wonder they keep coming. No deterrence, just enticements. Absolutely absurd. Let's talk to Janice in Wakefield in West Yorkshire. Hello, Janice.
Hello, good evening. I'm just thinking about the whole situation, which I've been reading quite a lot about, you know, the migrant situation.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And, we all have, Janice, yes.
And I think Keir Starmer should be sent down for treason.
Do him for anything, as long as we can lock him up and get him out of our hair. That would be a pretty useful thing to do. But you know,
the people of this country, that the population of this country, the indigenous people have been betrayed because we haven't seen all this coming. It's been gradually done to us over a period of time, and now it's become really, really frightening, I feel.
I agree with you. I was just saying to Herbie, another caller, that there's this kind of feeling that we're kind of spinning out of control. You know, this net zero nonsense is ridiculous. Our energy bills are the highest in the world, 5 times higher than America's, and our migrant crisis is just getting absolutely terrifying. It's an absolute scandal, and this government's doing nothing except droning on about smashing the gangs, even though after 9 months they've smashed no gangs whatsoever, and even if they did, it wouldn't solve the crisis. It's really worrying.
I know, it is worrying, and it's worrying a lot of people, and people are very reluctant to say too much because the English people, the British people, we are quite a generous people.
We are by nature. You're right, Janice, but it seems to have run out of control now.
We're the first to hand out help if they've got, any appeal we have for anything happens. We've always got our hands in our pockets to give, because I know I support things myself, and I think. But you feel like you've been taken for a complete
We're being
idiot.
taken for our generosity is being exploited, I think, and we are foolishly going too far. We're giving them way too much. No wonder they keep coming. Free money, free food, free hotels, free lawyers, free dentists, free doctors. We give them free gifts, free driving lessons, free driving tests, free mobile phones. I mean, it's ridiculous. They broke into our country illegally. Send them home. It's ridiculous. What are they doing here? I'll tell you what they're doing here. They're waiting for their asylum application decision, which will almost certainly be stick around, you can stay forever. It's getting absurd, Janice. Thank you for an excellent call. Please call me again, Janice in Wakefield. Let's quickly do the last WhatsApp voice note, or the voice memo, as it says here. Michael on immigrants.
Old people like to sit and relax and look at the world go by, sitting on a seat or a bench. But they do that for 10 minutes, and then suddenly 7 strange men will come and sit on the seat and speak very loud and intimidate them, basically. Probably not deliberately. And then, of course, the elderly person gets up and leaves. I tried to sit on a seat today, and all you get is another group of young men who come and intimidate you.
Well, Michael, I mean, this is what we've been talking about, that more and more people are saying there are so many of these asylum seekers milling around on the streets, mostly young men, 30, 40, 50 outside coffee shops, in parks, that the local people there feel intimidated. There's an atmosphere of fear. This is no joke, folks. This is no joke. Let's go to break. When we come back, more of your calls.
Brits get a B and you're complaining that you only got a B grade while everybody else gets a D. It's like,
we're among 60 countries. You got the D grade.
Why can't you celebrate the fact that it's only 10% and you can negotiate your way out of it if you take certain measures?
OK, give us some advice. What can we pass on to Keir Starmer?
I think the logic for all nations is clear. Don't penalise our products, then you won't have punitive tariffs. It's really that easy. It's nothing more complicated. The mathematics are very simple.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're still taking your calls. Don't forget, well, I say don't forget, I haven't mentioned it yet. In about 8 minutes' time, 10 o'clock, you will be joined by the great Andre Walker and the equally great Ash Gould. Ash will be in a little while to tell you what they've got lined up for your entertainment from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. It's always a lively show. So Ash and Gould taking you into the small hours, 10 to 1 a.m. Let's go back to the calls and talk to Philippa in Poole. Hello, Philippa. What would you like to say?
As a woman, like some of your other callers have just said, I feel intimidated by young men in migrant gangs hanging around on street corners outside barbershops, making derogatory remarks and comments.
Have you experienced that yourself, Philippa?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. So I try and stay in my car as much as possible when I'm out and about. I'd rather keep my black silk sheets on my bed than be forced to wear them. I hope that when Nigel Farage gets in as Prime Minister, he will ban the burqa so that it will give Muslim women the freedom to integrate into our society when they're here.
Like in France, where the burqa is banned. I mean, there are a number of reasons to do so. I think it's demeaning for women. It degrades them to sort of second-class status. And also, there's all sorts of identification problems. So, France just banned it.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
It's a security risk as well. You don't know what they've got underneath those burqas. I know I'm giggling a bit, but it's no joke. If somebody's got a knife or anything,
but these
scary stuff.
To go back, absolutely. And then you're saying that around where you live, there are big gangs of these asylum seeker guys just milling around on street corners. It's a story we're getting from all over the country, Philippa.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. And women shouldn't feel intimidated.
Well, tell me about it. Absolutely. No, it's like Alex Phillips campaigns about this a lot. That women increasingly, due to this ongoing invasion, if you like, of asylum-seeking men from very different cultures to us, are not feeling safe on our streets, and that is a very sad situation.
Yeah, I don't want to be intimidated so much that I feel as if I've got to cover up and not wear a dress in the summer or show my shoulders or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to end up having to be like them to satisfy them and make me feel safe.
It's just ridiculous, They're guests in our country. We shouldn't bend to their culture. They should bend to ours. They should try to fit in with our culture. But as you say, we're just talking to Tracy up there in Glasgow, where women are being told to cover up. British women are being told to cover up because of the asylum-seeking men in the city. That's absurd. That is absurd and is an instruction that must be disobeyed at all costs. Philippa, I've got to move on, but thank you for a very illuminating call. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Philippa in Poole, and we've got time now to talk to Gwyn in North Wales. And you want to talk about Drax and the madness of net zero, Gwyn?
Well, yes, I do, yes. Plus, I live in a small town in North Wales, and we've got an influx of immigrants coming into this town, and we don't know who's who and what's what, and it at times are quite intimidating.
Yeah, more and more people are saying this. It's really worrying. You live in a small place and you've got problems, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
But more to the point is Drax. The wool's been pulled over our eyes, but now Ed Miliband is thinking of inserting balloons in people's fuel tank on an MOT to stop you filling up and medical. So you'll have to.
I haven't heard this one, Gwyn. That sounds, even by Ed's standards, that sounds very, very insane.
To 2 or 3 people, and they've read it in different places, and the maximum you'll have is 25 litres.
Oh, come on. How much gas or petrol you put... Sorry, I spent too long in America. How much petrol you put in your tank is your business, not the government's. This isn't North Korea. Unbelievable.
We're going to the communist state control, isn't we?
Yeah, so that's what it is. And we are being sort of oppressed by this kind of evangelical religion of net zero. Ed Miliband is deranged about it, and he ain't going to last for too much longer because he's driving this country into penury. Our energy bills are soaring. They're going higher and higher, 5 times more than America, 5 times more expensive than America. The most expensive energy bills in the world, and the only way is up. And then you got Drax, the insanity of Drax, which we're giving at £869 million a year to in green subsidies because they use wood pellets shipped all the way from America. Until 2016, they used to get their fuel from the local coal mine 30 miles away. Much more ecologically friendly than what they're doing now. But the world has gone mad, Gwyn, and we are stuck in the asylum, I'm afraid.
Said, governments, small governments, are to listen to the nation and govern on behalf of the nation.
Yeah, but they're not, are they? They're governing on behalf of themselves. They're governing on behalf of their own virtue signalling and their own halo polishing. Look at us, we're saving the planet. No, you're not. No, you're not. Britain can't save the planet. We don't produce enough pollution, but they just want to make their halo polishing speeches, Gwyn, I'm afraid. Gwyn, I've got to go. The show's nearly over, but really good to talk to you. Please call me again. Gwyn in North Wales. Ash is in the studio.
All right, man. Yeah, coming up on Ash.
I haven't asked you yet, but what have you got in your show?
Yeah, I know, it's a good point. Yeah. Well, it's Broken Britain special. Are you ashamed to be British? Met police cutting 1,700 officers. We won't notice anyway. They'll still arrest the people on Twitter and that. So
well, how are they going to go around harassing middle-class people on their doorstep about their tweets?
They're keeping those, because that's just an easy...
The middle-class tweet squad.